areas. Ba, 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 ba. I love making this really long, so you could just it takes time for you to cut it out. Try and take extra time.
So Danny, generally what we do is I'll do the intro and then I'll transition into the topic, and then when I transition to the topic, I'll introduce like you as like a hey, we got Danny on here.
Go
Me.
Hey,
Yeah,
it's this guy.
Yeah. Okay. Looks. Oh, and both of them are online now. Okay. Very cool. Let me go with the picture-in-picture, and yeah, you can go ahead and start us off.
Are they actually both live though?
Yes, they are.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Another week, another podcast, and another list of great topics that we're going to cover. Everything from the NBA and why Paul George is probably, you can't find him on the screen because he's probably disappeared because this game's important. We're also going to talk about the Suns championship hopes, Giannis and Trey going down. We're also going to talk about Major League Baseball. Shohei Ohtani is going to the Derby. There's a couple against him, but is he the favorite? We'll kind of answer that and talk about that later on. We'll also talk about the young Major League Baseball stars that are actually maybe going to bring this league, maybe back into somewhat exciting rather than just being the annoying, disappointing league that I love, but also love to hate. So there's that. And then we're also going to cover some NCAA topics. College World Series literally just ended, and a little bit of Olympics talk. And we're also going to cover the Euros 2020, which have been going on, and the group stage is over. We're now into the single elimination style tournament that's happening. Me and Dylan, as you all know, don't know very much about soccer, football, as you will. And so we have brought on one of our good friends who is way more involved and knowledgeable about it than us, which is Danny. So welcome, Danny.
It's me.
It's you. You didn't even do our normal intro, and our plugs can be later or whatever. That's fine. We don't have to worry about that. Those are already, I forget you cut those in, so we're fine.
Yeah, I cut those in. This is before this. You were going, God, jeez.
We're just doing it live. Okay. We're just figuring it out as we go along. It's been a long one. Okay.
We're doing it live.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's cut right into that there though. Okay, here we go.
Okay, so Euro Talk 2020, here we go. So Danny, we're starting out with Harry Kane on the screen for us. And I think that's a good kind of intro into what has surprised you the most. What teams are surprising you the most in this tournament?
I'd probably have to say, the Swiss team obviously is the main one that everyone's probably talking about, considering they just beat the reigning World Cup champs after being down 3-1 with about 10 minutes to go. And that, and then probably the Danish team. I mean, obviously everyone knows about the event earlier in the group stages with Christian Eriksen going down. And you wouldn't know what kind of response, they'd be passionate, but they were never really a favorite by any means, or even favored to make it as far as they've made it. But I think they're kind of fortunate to be playing Wales in the first round of the knockout stages.
Yeah,
because they're not a very tough team.
I was gonna say, it seems like they kind of pulled like an easier team, I guess. Because when I saw that too, I was like, is Wales? I don't really know, because Wales has Bale's like their best player, right? Or is he?
Yeah, there's Gareth Bale and then Aaron Ramsey, and that's pretty much it. Like famous people wise, like the team's all right, but they're not really an offensive power by any means.
Gotcha. And of course, like I said, we're talking about Harry Kane here being on the screen. Is this English team actually this good, or is this like a surprise as well?
See, I think it's a combination of them being good and also Germany just vastly underperforming. Because it was 1-0 at about the 75th minute or 80th minute, and Thomas Muller had probably one of the easiest breakaways anyone could ever have. Running down the center of the field, he just had to choose a side, went left, and just dragged it way wide of the post. And that would have been an entirely different game, 1-1 with 10 minutes to go, versus maybe 5 minutes later, Harry Kane scored a header to make it 2-0.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was gonna say I saw that this right here is obviously the image we got on the screen is like him celebrating. I just remember like the English team being one that like we were kind of joking about them being like they're probably gonna get knocked out like in the group stage, or they're probably gonna choke somehow, and they actually seem like they're doing okay.
Yeah, they've kept 4 clean sheets miraculously, which is just wild to me. But I don't know how that's going to go coming up. Who are they facing? Let's see.
I don't know who they are.
Oh, they're playing Ukraine, so they got the teams they could have played. That's probably the best poll they could have gotten of the remaining 7 teams.
Gotcha.
But I mean, Ukraine has been surprisingly good, so it could be an actually pretty interesting game. But yeah, I mean, England's notorious for choking in national tournament or international tournaments, and that's why they're always a meme with it. And they're one of the betting favorites for this tournament, which everyone just kind of looked at and scratched their heads because they are a very good team talent-wise, but as a team, they haven't really been that great.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what I was like. I kind of was shocked that they had beaten Germany, which I mean, Germany I think was like the second highest favorite or something like that, or based on like the betting or whatever. And so that was kind of like shocking to see them go down. And then of course, Spain, or it's not Spain, Portugal ends up losing, which was also pretty crazy too. So
Hey, you skipped over my my order. That's right. We got to talk about that too.
No, we'll get to that. We'll get to that for sure. But and then obviously, which Dylan will put on the screen, the favorites in the entire thing, which was the French team, obviously underperforming, and Mbappe literally go out in probably the most shocking way you could have gone out. Like if anybody would have said the French are going to lose on a PK where Mbappe's kicking it, I think, or taking it, I think that's probably would have shocked a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think the funniest thing was I was watching, because obviously we have the American broadcast of it. I can't remember if it was Taylor Twellman or not announcing it, but literally right before he goes up, they're like, a few months ago in international friendlies or whatever, Mbappe missed to the goalkeeper's right. And then like 3 seconds later, he shoots it to the goalkeeper's right and he gets saved. I was like, yep, of course.
That's literally every time you hear that in an announcer, I hate when announcers bring up stuff like that, because the moment they do, I'm like, all right, that's it. Well, it's happening. Like,
oh yeah, like announcer's curse, like, right? Every time with like field goals or anything, like, oh, he hasn't missed one all season.
Yeah, and then doink.
Yeah,
that's usually how that goes. So, yeah, that's funny, because I was literally, like I said, I was shocked when I heard. Literally, I saw the notification go across my screen that was like, Mbappe misses PK, French lose. I was like, wow. It's like, how did they even get there? And 2, like, how did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, they did not play a good first half, and Switzerland was up within like 15 minutes. And then they got a penalty kick the first 10 minutes, and a guy just had a terrible penalty up the, like pretty close to the middle, but the left side, and he just kicked it at the perfect height for the French goalie to save it. And they could have been up 2-0. And then in the next 10 minutes, Karim Benzema scored 2 goals in like 90 seconds, I think it was. So it went from them possibly being up 2-0 to being down 2-1 within like a 5 to 10 minute frame. Oof. And then Paul Pogba scored like a 30-yard goal, curling it up to the top right corner, and then did all of his dancing and celebrating as if they were moving on already. But what he forgot was that there was 12 minutes of regular time left and another team on the field still.
Yeah, there was 12 minutes left, and he did that. 12?
Yeah, it was like the 78th minute, something like that.
That's bold. I like that.
I mean,
like dancing and everything on the field, doing in the woe, I think.
I mean, they were like a heavy favorite, though. That's why it was like it was like, Mbappe being one of the best in the world, and then like you said, Pogba being there, and then just like the team overall. I mean, they were literally like a heavy, like if they don't win it, it would be shocking kind of thing. So that's why like I could see the too much, it going ahead too much kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, he scored in the 75th minute, so there's 15 minutes plus added time left. And 6 minutes later they scored, and then in the 90th minute they scored.
Wow.
Jeez. Yeah, that's insane. I mean, you know, don't be too cocky. Gotta finish it. Doesn't matter. You know, that's why like there was that one that what was it, the World Cup Championship where like Germany won like 7-1 or something. And it was like
Brazil. Yeah.
it was like, listen, like I know obviously Brazil was nowhere near Germany's level, but I'm like, listen, all it takes is you to something like this, or you just you stop playing or you stop running, like, you know, going as hard, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in PKs, and then you can't fold through, and you know those, and now you're out of the tournament.
Yeah, that one was especially depressing for them because that was the World Cup in Brazil in the semifinal, or it might have been a quarterfinal. And they got obliterated 7-1.
Yeah. It's sad that my most familiarity with that is from Rocket League, but that's just how it is. Hearing Brazil.
Brazil.
Yeah.
But yeah, so other than that, and then you've gotten ready, queued up for us here, is the which we kind of referenced a little bit earlier, but also not only did the heavy favorites win, but then the defending champions lost in Portugal. And I didn't see anything about this game, so I know nothing about like how this actually happened or what, you know, what happened there.
Yeah, the Portuguese team, I mean, it was a pretty back and forth game. Thorgan Hazard, who's Eden Hazard's brother, scored a goal at the end of the first half from like just outside the box on the left side, and it was super nice goal. But from there on out, it was just like missed chances from both teams. Like I think in the 80th minute or so, Portugal had a rebound come to the top of the box, and Rafael Guerreiro hit it like the cleanest kick that you could have had through the entire box, and it hit directly off the post on the ground and came out. So they were inches away from tying it. But yeah, I mean, Belgium is, even though Belgium didn't win the last World Cup, I think they are ranked #1 in the world. So technically, like France are probably the favorites to win it just because they've won the most recent international tournament. But I think by UEFA rankings and like friendlies and stuff, Belgium is technically the #1 overall team.
Interesting. So Belgium probably should have been like the betting team. Like you probably should have put more bets on Belgium because you don't want to put it like on the favorites or even like the defending champions.
Yeah, but Belgium haven't really proven themselves in like a big international tournament yet, so that's probably why people are kind of questioning it. And then Kevin De Bruyne got hurt before this, like a month or so ago, in the Champions League. Finally, had a fractured eye socket.
Oh my God!
And that's like one of the best midfielders, if not the best midfielder in the world.
Wow.
Gotcha. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll definitely raise doubts about your team when one of the best players goes down.
Yeah, but I mean their team is stacked. I think the concern with them is their back line is not that great comparatively. Like most of their great players are midfielders or attackers, like because it's Eden Hazard, his brother Romelu Lukaku, Kevin De Bruyne. There's another guy, Dries Mertens, who plays in the Italian league. But their back line is older for soccer standards, and they're not really that quick. They're all good defenders, but they're not like spectacularly quick or agile. But I mean, they've held up so far in the tournament, but I think that's the concern with their team.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, and then now kind of wrapping it up, who now out of the teams that are left, who do you think are going to move on to make it?
That is tough. So of the 4 games, I would say Spain is probably going to beat Switzerland, but as we just saw, Switzerland definitely has the capability to pull it off, and Spain's been kind of iffy with actually scoring. They're great at creating chances, but they don't do a great job of actually finishing it. Now, the Italy-Belgium game is probably the biggest toss-up you're ever going to get, because Italy conceded their first goal in the last game of the entire tournament, and they've won like something ridiculous out of the past like 30 international games, because they missed the last World Cup for the first time in a long time. And then since then they've just won like pretty much everything in international play. So I think Belgium will still probably win that game.
Okay.
But I could see Italy beating them because their defense is just like a brick wall. As for the other games, Denmark, Czech Republic, I really want Denmark to win, but I feel like the Czech Republic is just a better team in general. But with all the emotion behind the Danish team, they could probably still pull it off. It's just a matter of they don't really have like a prolific goal scorer, so it's just going to be where does a goal come from. And England, Ukraine, on paper, it should really easily be England. But with their history in international tournaments, they lost to Iceland the last time around in the Euros. So
a nation of how many people?
300,000.
God. Wow.
And Ukraine is tiny too. I mean, they're bigger than Iceland, but Ukraine has only been a nation for like 30 years. And their biggest star ever is now their head coach for the national team.
Oh,
Interesting.
Yeah, Andrei Shevchenko.
Okay.
I think England should win that game, but they could just absolutely bottle it.
But you got to pick which way though, because we got to come back on this.
Got
to make a bet out of it either way.
I think England will win.
Okay, great. So when Iceland wins, we'll have that.
It, you mean. Ukraine.
when Ukraine.
Oh yeah. Sorry. When Ukraine wins. Yeah.
I think on paper England just has way too many good attackers, and they're going to be able to score. But I've seen them bottle it before, so.
Yeah.
All right, and then not only now to really go for some foresight here, who do you think is the champion of the whole thing?
Who do I think is the champion?
It had to be asked.
I think it's gonna be the winner of Belgium, Italy. I would lean towards it being Belgium, which is probably the safest route, but they just are that good.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So talent backs the production and talk.
Yeah, I mean, like just having Kevin De Bruyne on your team there's a reason that Man City's been so great in the Premier League and made it all the way to the Champions League final this year.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, interesting. Well, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I'm gonna go just for the sake of arguing against it. And Dylan, you're gonna also pick a team just because why not? We're gonna continue. So we have bets that we have to fulfill, and we're going to fulfill in a moment. But we're gonna make new bets too before that, because why not? Because we're double down on how bad we are at actually betting on this. So, so Dylan, your team that you picked, which was Croatia, actually did make it out of the group stage. My team, which was Finland, did not make it out of the group stage, which I feel like being in Belgium's group was not a smart decision for me. But here we are. So right off the bat, I have to take one shot at least for that, and then you get out of that one. Now, great. Danny came to me with a proposition that was what was it, a shot? Oh, Danny said if Netherlands wins all three, what happens in the group stage? And I said me and Dylan will drink a shot if they somehow figure that out. And guess what? Here we are, Dylan.
Yep.
I made a bet that you now have to cash with me. So.
Well, I got out of one of them, I guess. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say you did win that one there for you. So you get I get I get two shots at some point during this thing. So I'll take my first one with you now, and then I'll take a second one at some appropriate time later. And we also, like I said, are gonna make new bets because of course, when you've doubled down or when you're losing, you might as well just double down and go for broke. So I'm gonna go and say something, and I'm gonna say Italy is gonna win it all. And whoever is right gets to make the other two do a shot. So this is where we're at. So Dylan, put it on line. Who you got?
Well, naturally, I can't pick the heavy favorite because was that your bet, Danny? Anyways, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, okay, yeah, I can't take your bet. Wouldn't want to take the super expected one. I want to throw some chaos into it for this one. So, Ukraine's too crazy. That would be too much.
Are you gonna follow the magic of the Swiss team or the passion of the Danish team?
Yeah, you know what? That sounds like a fun one. I'm gonna go with passion.
Or is it English's year? Is it the English's year?
But before you pick, may I remind you that Greece won the 2004 Euros. That is one of the most unexpected things ever. So it is possible.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for the story. So I'm gonna go with the Danish. I feel like that would be
respected.
Headlines everywhere. We'll have that to talk about, obviously, and it'd be a great story. So I'll go with the hopeful pick.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's it. It's locked in. Thank you. So I think in celebration of our locking it in, we got our shots. Dylan, what are you doing for yours?
It's poured so high. It's just Tito's. Just a Tito's shot. Yeah. This is the worst combination ever. I'm literally drinking bourbon on the side, and now I'm having a Tito's shot.
That's great. It sounds fantastic.
Ugh.
Brought to you by Pain and Misery.
Jeez.
I'm drinking. My shot is going to be a Jameson cold brew whiskey coffee mix that I bought, which is a limited edition. So
what? That's enjoyable. That's not fair. That's not a bet. That's not a bet punishment.
Really
I don't know. Yours had so many adjectives in it, and mine was one word. So I feel like it is a little bit more of a punishment on my side.
But Dylan, is it that yours was one word because it didn't need explanation?
Yeah, because you don't need to explain when something's garbage. I mean, Tito's is bad, but you know, it's still a straight shot. Yours has a bunch of things that are added in, but whatever.
We're never getting sponsored by Tito's. Great.
Yeah,
that's the end of that.
Tell 40 of your friends. That's how we started. Tito's. Handmade vodka. I hate that commercial. And it comes up all the time. That's just how we started.
Let's go.
Ito's handmade vodka.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So, Dylan. This is across the Zoom cheers right here. So,
cheers to Mike and Dana, 2011, their wedding. That's my shot glass.
Well, this
Not
is
sure
cheers
who they
to
are.
the Bears. I got my little Bears shot glass here. Look at that.
That's cool. I like that
Beautiful. That comes one too.
Beef juice.
Oh, cheers to that.
Beef juice.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not terrible. It's not terrible. It's not great.
Beef
juice. Ooh, okay. That's fine. Actually, the bourbon completely wipes it away.
Oh, you're welcome, Danny, for that.
Yeah. Yeah, good bets. Good bets. Good fulfillment all the way around.
Yep. Oh man. All right. Well, I'll do a second shot at some point. Okay. Now that we've finished up with our Euro talk, another topic that we also want to hit Danny with real quick, which I just thought was interesting because I just saw this today. I did see that Messi's contract is up, as well as I think Ronaldo's is up at the end of the year. What do you think is going to happen with either of those players?
Super team.
No, I don't think they will ever end up playing together. Messi situation,
they're both going to join the Chicago Fire, and they're going to be.
I think there's a good chance that both of them do end up in the MLS to end their careers. Although Ronaldo, I think, has said he wants to go back to Sporting Lisbon, which is the Portuguese team he started at as a teenager.
Okay.
Oh.
So he may end his career there, but I don't think that would happen yet. I think he's still got another couple years at like a top team.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think maybe one more year at Juve for him, and then I don't know if he'll go back to the Premier League maybe at Man U, or because he won't go to the Bundesliga. I highly doubt he goes to the French league. Maybe he goes back to Real Madrid. I doubt that. I feel like he might go back to the Premier League. Either that or he goes straight to MLS. And then maybe Portugal after that. As for Messi, that one's a pretty tough call because they signed Sergio Aguero, who's like one of his best friends in real life. And I think he's the godfather of his children, or one way or the other. I think one is for the other, or if not both. So like that would be that's a power move on Barcelona's point to sign his best friend. So that'd be tough to pass up. But if he did leave, the strong favorite is that he goes to Man City if they can afford it, because they got the oil money.
Yeah.
And also Pep Guardiola used to be his coach, and I think they get along really well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I was gonna say because it's not every day that the same year you have Ronaldo and Messi up for contracts and could literally go wherever they want. That's like, that's pretty crazy. I mean, that's obviously two of the best players in the world, being able to decide wherever they want to go. So I thought that was interesting and something to ask you. As far as that goes, that's, like I said, the Ronaldo stuff I definitely heard MLS for him because of just the
market in
yeah,
America.
being able to go and you're instantly the best player. Not only that, but you're instantly going to be the most popular person like in any city you go to because you're Ronaldo. So it's like it's one of those where it's just as far as like getting American fans to also jump on your wagon, and you'll probably win an MLS championship and probably, have a whole new fan base. That's probably why, in my opinion, he'll end up there. And then also, I know I heard, which is why I was jokingly mentioning the Chicago Fire, but I had heard that he was like interested in going to Chicago or something like that as like a team that he would play for. Which they did have that one guy, the defender. I can't pronounce his last name. From
Bastian Schweinsteiger.
Yeah, he was there.
German midfielder. He won the World Cup with them. He was pretty young when he went too. He was only like 32, I think, when he left Germany to go play in the U.S.
Wow.
And I mean, if you look at freaking the guy for Zlatan when he went when he came over, I mean, it was just insane.
LA Galaxy, like their ratings and everything had to just be boosted so much.
Yeah. And the MLS is like gaining traction. A lot of people don't realize it, but like a lot of stadiums and stuff like that. Like I know certain markets and everything. Like the Atlanta one has been sold out since they started their franchise. Like
a
year or two ago.
Portland, the LA teams do pretty well.
Yeah.
I think Kansas City actually does pretty well.
Oh, that's actually unexpected.
Or they only have I guess they have the Chiefs. I was gonna say they only have the Royals, but
yeah, they got some options.
They got the Chiefs.
I mean, the Chiefs weren't that great up until the past few years. So like the fan base for it's Sporting Kansas City is what they're called. I think they've actually been pretty good in the MLS, and I think they gained a decent amount of support.
Yeah.
What about the isn't there a New York team that was also just started, or?
There's two. There's the Red Bulls that have been around for a while. And they had Thierry Henry as their coach for a bit, who, if you don't know who that is, he was a really good French player that played for Arsenal. And he was on the Invincibles team, which is the Arsenal team in like 2003 that went undefeated for an entire season. Which is crazy, but you forget that undefeated technically is draws as well. So they had draws. They didn't win every game, but they didn't lose for an entire 38 game season, which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's still insane.
But the other team is New York City FC. So it's technically they're like a sister club with Manchester City.
Oh, okay.
They had a big Premier League guy go there a few years back, like when they were actually, they had two. They had Frank Lampard, who was just recently the Chelsea manager, and then David Villa, who played for Barcelona in Spain for a really long time.
Huh.
Interesting. Yeah, I know the MLS is trying to make ground in soccer and everything, and like we went to that soccer game me and Dylan did in Madison, and that was I didn't even know the MLS had created a League One and League Two. Which is pretty cool too. So they're trying their best to start becoming, especially after the disappointment that the USA team had in the last non-qualifying.
Literally an island nation of less than probably Iceland, Trinidad and Tobago, drawing or whatever it was. I don't remember, but the other teams I forgot was Florida has Orlando City. And they had Kaká, who was a super big name, and then Miami FC just got created by David Beckham in the past year. I think
that's the one I was thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah, they had Gonzalo Higuain and Blaise Matuidi, who were both like big-ish players in European teams that they got.
That's cool. Yeah, like I said, the MLS is starting to really gain a lot more ground, which is I've always enjoyed it. I just there's not a market for it in the US so as much, like it hasn't been at least. Now they're starting to be, so it's one of those where it's not as readily available as other sports, obviously, so it kind of falls to the line, to the side. So I'm actually excited for it. I do enjoy it whenever I watch it and pay attention. I just don't enough. So I'm glad that they're starting to gain a little bit of traction in the United States. And obviously, like you said, after the disappointment against Trinidad, and then, the USA team just winning its first, well, here we go, Dylan, the CONCACAF.
CONCACAF.
There we go.
That was the Nations League, I think.
Yeah.
And actually, the Gold Cup is coming up in like a month, or I don't know if it starts in July, but that's when the USA will be playing. So that'll be like more American teams. So like, forget who's all in it. I think there's a lot of South American teams. Then there's also the Olympic Games. There's soccer too, and there's the Copa America going on.
Coming up soon, right?
The Olympics, or
I think so. I think so, right? Yes.
At some point soon. And the thing with that is, it has to be. They have to have a lot of youth players. You have to be under a certain age, but you get a couple like overage players that are allotted to the teams. Like I know Brazil has a really famous right back that they designated to the team to be one of the overage players.
Oh,
interesting. So it's got to be a lot of like quote unquote amateurs or like younger. Interesting. So
Yeah.
You won't see as many stars in that one.
You could hear a hot take. I wouldn't be surprised if like the MLS keeps on moving and you do get people to get to like go to games like we did and stuff, like keep the tickets cheap and whatever, just get people in the door and everything. I could very easily see that eating into baseball's long-term plans, which seems super like a hot take because it's ingrained in like American culture and whatever. But all the Zoomers and everything right now, I don't think they care as much. I know I certainly don't care as much because of the way that's presented. But yeah, I could definitely see them starting to eat into that because they're not adapting to, streaming services, accessibility, speeding up the game, anything like that. But the MLS is going to keep having these teams that you can go to and like go to cheap games, see everything, get the experience. I could see that starting to take a hit in a while. I think baseball will be super late to react and maybe unwilling to react that based on the past 10 to 20 years. But I could see that definitely impacting it.
Yeah, I think that entire conversation is interesting as a whole because the accessibility of soccer, like there's a reason that Ronaldo and Messi have about like 80 million followers on Instagram, whereas someone who's recognizable here, Tom Brady, has like 9 million. Like just the global reach for those players, and like it's such a globally played game, whereas like you just need a ball. Like obviously you can make nets out of anything, but you need a ball to play, and that's about it. And it's also inclusive, whereas like now we have softball and baseball, but like NFL, like you don't have a women's league, and brings up all the topics for that. And like there's a reason that soccer is a global game, but you get the American perspective of a lot of people who just like smash, hit hard, and they think that soccer is boring because it's not a goal every 5 minutes. But there's a reason it's sustained itself so well literally everywhere else in the world.
Yeah, I mean, and like the women's league, like you're talking about too, like tremendously more popular than like the WNBA and stuff. Like I hear about different like women's leagues player all the time, like whether it be from like NFL stars, like JJ Watt's wife. I think there's another superstar's wife who's also like Julie Ertz, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, she's on the
She
USA
plays for
team.
the Chicago team as well, the Red Stars, I think.
Yeah, so like you hear about that. I hear about that stuff like in a very common time. I don't know of anything else in the WNBA. Also, again, accessibility. You need the whole court. Everything a little bit harder to get at, but I think that's bleeding together a lot more than everything else. So I think it kind of just plays in the same conversation. It's easier to get to and easier to relate to.
Yeah, and that's why you see more like TV rights being taken in the US. Like the Premier League used to be barely on ESPN for a while. It was in the mornings and they had the coverage. Then NBC took it over and they made it like a really big deal for them. Like they've really gone all in on it, and now they have their own subscription for it on Peacock. And they had the whole NBC like Premier League Gold before that.
Interesting.
Yeah. No, there's so many things that it's going for it. I mean, even like in a technical production standpoint, I know like if you're ever in a store, you want to get a new TV or whatever, or you're like displaying anything on monitors, one of the first things I always do is like, oh, this is what a 4K broadcast of literally any soccer game, because you could see covers the entire screen. It's more of an incentive as well. If you want to have like a 70-inch screen, you could basically see the entire pitch and everything as well. There's a lot of things that kind of go for it, on top of accessibility, but technical standpoints as well. There's a lot of things flowing into that. Streaming services, I think Fubo TV is one of the more popular ones as well. They're pushing a lot of sports and live streaming and tapping into that sort of audience that a lot of other places aren't. And even like NBC Sports, like you said, yeah, they're coming into it a lot and they're spending a lot on streaming. And one of the biggest plays I think from Fubo TV, I think, is any form of soccer, any league. I think they're trying to get to that because
I think they have La Liga maybe.
Yeah,
just a Spanish league.
Yep. They're like dipping into that a lot. They've been back and forth. There was a lot of questions about, if the streaming services can rely off of sports, and then in lots of cases that is pretty much what all people are like holding on to cable for, is usually going to be sports. So obviously YouTube TV had that, but Fubo specifically targeted that audience as well. So yeah, there's a lot of positive things going for it in the future.
Yep. Yeah, I've like I said, I've always enjoyed it, and I actually got way more into all of it when I went down to Kentucky, because all of my friends down there played FIFA and were huge like fans of soccer and stuff. So, and I like, it's funny when you joke about playing a game, but like the thing is like you play the game, you get to know the players, and then that gets you more involved elsewhere. So that's why I always say that that's why like for not so funny, but that's how you started to watch the NFL and
literally,
because I literally made you take home my Madden game, and then you started playing it, and then you got to a point where you knew the players and you started watching the games.
Yeah,
like, it's just
you sucked me into a life of disappointment. Thank you.
I made you a Bears fan. I molded you into a Bears fan. That's gonna be just disappointed and sad.
Yeah.
But hey, we're here for it. And every year
you created a new definition for the argument that video games can cause mental trauma and incite violence in younger children. So
who knew it was a sports game rather than a shooter?
Yeah, it was like Grand Theft Auto, right? Like we have to shoot all the people. Be like, nope, it was just playing the Packers, and I just kept on losing every time. Ridiculous.
For some reason, Andy Dalton wouldn't throw it to the Bears player.
Yeah,
throwing it to the other team.
It's like when you have like 100 throwing power and you make it like a custom character and there's 0% like zero accuracy, and like they throw and it goes backwards at like 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, exactly. This is like the negative yard punt or something like that. Like this is that kind of style.
Yeah.
Catches the wind.
And I mean, even if you want to stem off a discussion as that is like on top of like video games inspiring different audiences and like capturing people, like, man, they need to, I know it's like a tired argument anyways, but like Madden needs to go to a different publisher or inspire some sort of competition. Obviously the same can be said for FIFA as well. Just like literally a competitor to inspire any sort of different features, anything.
There is a competitor for FIFA, and they're slowly buying out like rights for a bunch of huge teams and competitions. It's called Pro Evolution Soccer, PES. Like they have the rights to Juventus and Roma. So like EA can't license those. So in FIFA, instead of it being Juventus, it's called Piemonte Calcio. And Roma is Roma FC, which I don't know how they got away with that one. But also like PES has the rights to the Euros. So like they can do all the promotions right now with the tournament and do their own stuff. But EA can't. So they have like a festival of foot right now for all the tournaments. But like PES has the actual individual rights to Euro 2020. So like they can use all the stuff they want. Whereas EA has all the rights to the Champions League, so they have like they can make cards and stuff with that and do stuff for live events with that. So PES is eating into it, but it's going to take a lot to get rid of it because EA came up with the whole Ultimate Team concept.
Yeah.
and that's what draws people to the game.
No, like that. I didn't even know about that. That's cool. No, not even like draw away. Just like literally inspire some sort of competitiveness to do something different and add.
Well, the NBA has that too with 2K, and then you have NBA Live, which NBA Live is an inferior game, of course, but like
they
at least
used to be great.
Yeah, they used to be great, and they're still there. And so it's one of those where like, trust me, if NBA Live suddenly started to be great again, the amount of 2K players that would jump over is astronomical. So that's why it's not a scare. It's not like something that 2K can brush off. Like they actually have to address like things that NBA like Live is trying to do. Like 2K has to be like, okay, we're gonna include those features as well and make it better. So that way you guys want to come to our game, which is obviously just gonna make the game better. And it's funny because Madden this year is supposed to be like, I'm a big franchise guy, and I know Madden this year, franchise wise, is supposed to be like overhauled with the scouting and coaches and all that. And there's like a whole bunch of new stuff in there. And of course, Madden still is not a spectacular game by any means. We're not saying that, but vast improvements because of all the hate they were getting for so long there, where literally people were like, all right, this is it. Like, this is just bad.
Well, you saw the things like, they'd have like the backgrounds, the advertisements and everything in the stadium. There was like, they would literally pull the assets from like 2019 or whatever. And it was still in the game. Like that was one of the biggest things. You'd go up in the background and it would be like, oh, like they advertise the same game in the game. So like Madden NFL 2019, but it was like the 2020 version of the game. Like literally the laziest thing that one guy in QA could have been like, hey, wait, we used that. Can we change the text just so it says 20? And they, nope, didn't see that either. Didn't do that. Didn't care enough to do it.
Bad for that. So they've really kind of tried to overhaul the game as much as possible this time around, and it's definitely a lot better. I've already pre-ordered it, of course, because I know I'm going to buy it anyways. So I pre-order it so that way it's done and I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm going to get it anyways. Doesn't matter. Like some people are like, oh, you should wait to buy the game until it's, until they put the improvements in that you want. And I'm like, I can't.
You're waiting a long time.
Yeah, I just can't do that. What is?
That was gonna be my transition point since we were still on the video game topics as well. I'm just gonna switch over to that very quickly. Since we're just spiraling off this tangent, I'm gonna go off with that as well. But I don't know if you've seen or been excited for anything for Halo Infinite since they redid some of their graphics design and everything.
So the thing with Halo Infinite is I'm trying my absolute best to not see too much about it because Halo is my all-time favorite series. Like I can go back and play Halo all of them. It doesn't matter. OTST is fantastic. Like I saw a graphic the other day that was hilarious, and it was like you play Halo 3 for the multiplayer, you play Halo 2 for the game, you play ODST for the environment. And then it was like, or Halo, and then you play Halo Reach because it's just awesome. And I was like, that's all of the games are great and all of them are fantastic. And I play all of them. And I don't even care. Like 5, there's some issues with it, obviously, but like still, it's a Halo game. I'm down. And so like I've beyond excited for Infinity. And so I've just been trying to keep myself like, I'm trying to just let it kind of shock me that it's out. And like it's ready to go, and like, oh, it's coming. Like, yeah, that game, it's coming out literally in a month. Like that's how I want to be. So I've like not looked at anything. So anything you say at this point is an update.
Okay, great. So I'm totally the opposite. I've totally bought into it. I've been looking for something to get into and like to be hyped for because I haven't been for a game or like enjoyed anything like that in a really long time. So
since Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh yeah, see, I still didn't even play that game, but I actually need to go through that. Dylan, I'm currently going through God of War from 2018. And it's fantastic.
I beat God of War. It was fun. It was great.
But
great game.
I've completely leaned into it. I've been back playing some of the Halo multiplayer and stuff. Still fun, still timeless. So definitely will take the time for that. Halo 5, I never owned. Our roommate actually, Danny and I had Halo Infinite or Halo 5. And played the multiplayer. It was really fun, actually. I just never bought it because we played through the campaign in our room, so I saw of it. But yeah, it's the campaign and multiplayer and stuff still really fun to play. Went back and started playing like the Lasso missions, which is legendary All Skulls on, just like for fun with like a friend, Jack,
Dude.
who is also possibly maybe he'll come on. He's also a graphic designer for the MLS now, so he'd have some input on what's going on their side. So boom, good segue there. Yeah.
He's a Spurs fan.
Oh, I didn't even know that part either.
He's a Spurs. not Spurs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Immediately
Yeah.
American meat side of me. But yeah, it has a lot going for it. I completely turned it off after the first E3 showing because of basically all the issues people were talking about. It looked like it was blocky. It looked like garbage and didn't look like Halo at all. And they actually went back and changed everything. They have a bunch of different multiplayer reveals or like battle packs and like the season things that everyone does now, but you can go back and you can go ahead and do them anytime. You don't have to do them concurrently.
Yeah.
Very cool. No loot boxes, anything like that.
Yep.
Cross-platform, of course. Now we both all of us are on PC now, but if we weren't, still do Xbox, and it's also fully supported by PC. The Halo Master Chief Collection, I don't know if you bought that yet, but we have to play that at some point, actually is updated.
I have it on my Xbox. I have the entire. Dylan, I have all of the games. What are you
Well,
talking about?
But if you have it on PC, we could play it all the way through. I think the problem
I don't
was,
have it on PC.
yeah, it might be worth a buy because I don't think they did a cross-platform at this point for it. But it actually works really well.
If you want to play through all of the games before this one comes out, I will 100% do that with you. So I will 100% buy that if that's something you'd be down for. And
we could do a legendary run on here actually if we wanted to.
I actually got to. I think I beat. I don't know which ones I beat on legendary by myself because I was very good at the game because I played it all the time. So
yeah.
I was like, I got very good at it where I could actually play legendary by myself totally fine because you just know how to play it. Like it's just one of those where I know how to do this. I know how to hide. I know how to shoot, to pick my shots. So yeah, I would absolutely love to do. I don't know if we have to do a lasso run. That's up to you.
Oh, that would be ours.
Subject ourselves to that. But
we probably spent just Jack and I probably somewhere in the tune of 6 to 7 hours on 2 missions, really slowly going through it.
I think I've only beat Halo 3 on lasso.
Really? Oh, okay. Yeah. And to give any perspective, Halo 2 or Halo 3 is looked at as one of the easier campaigns. So that's how bad it is.
I think I got close to beating Halo 2 on lasso, but I just didn't think I had put enough into it, kind of.
Oh, yeah. So, well, we went through Halo 2 on Xbox, and I think we were going through a legendary run, the two of us, when we were playing it, I think, on the original Xbox.
Yep.
So, practice.
I 100% would be down. Let's start from Halo 1 and all the way through. We'll play ODST, we'll play Reach. I can't wait. I'm excited because I love all those games.
Yeah, so you're not looking into anything and everything. That's fine, but a lot of good positives, a lot of things changed around for it, lots of extra details. We're going for it. I saw an actual sound design video that was kind of cool where they went out into the desert and they were shooting guns and everything to record high quality instead of just making digital sounds up. And they had awesome. Sound designers below little rocks and cliffs and everything, so they could record the bullets shooting over, so it was actually accurate. So it wasn't them sitting out, cool. It wasn't them off to the side. The dude was straight up shooting above him, and they had the mics and everything hooked up below. So it's cool. That extra level. I love seeing that stuff. The background is always interesting to learn about.
This game seems to me like it's going to be the pinnacle. If it works out the way it is, it's going to be the pinnacle of all the Halo games. Finally getting it, which listen, I'm all for. Like I said, I love the Halo games. I was at the Halo 5 midnight release, by the way. I want to point that out.
Were you?
100%. I was at the.
What was it, at GameStop or something?
Yeah, I was at the midnight release for that in Kentucky because my friend was like, "Hey, that game's releasing tonight," and I was like, "Really?" I was like, "That's one of my favorite series." And he was like, "You want to go?" And I was like, "Honestly, yeah." I've never been to a midnight release for one of them. I was like, "Yeah, I definitely do." And I actually bought a controller there. I remember
that.
Yeah, I actually have. Hold on one sec. Let me just little story time here.
I remember you specifically got this controller and you're like, "Look, it's a collectible," and I was like, "Yeah, that's pretty cool actually." They didn't cheap out.
See, so this is my custom Master Chief controller. And the funny thing now, I think they sell for a couple $100, but
ooh, it held up really well. I like the bumpers being the visor color. That's pretty sweet.
Oh, it's awesome. The D-pad right here is also the bump, the color. So yeah, the visor color. Oh, it feels good too, the controller and the hand and everything. I used it for a while, and then when I realized how expensive it was, I was like, I'm only going to use this with the Halo. So when we do our run through, and we'll probably record it for YouTube, just because why not?
Yeah.
We'll 100% be using that controller then. So
yeah, it's fun. I can't wait. I can't wait to do that as well. Last side note on that is that one of the things I didn't like about Halo, 5 years ago or something, was like getting so caught up in the Call of Duty like fast pacedness and everything and like movement. Love that part. Now it doesn't matter as much because actually, even though Halo is slower, it's still like it went back to being really fun. Yeah, so I thought that was kind of weird as well. And you can train, and then we'll move on to NBA afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, Battlefield as well. 2042 had a bunch of gameplay trailers that were released and everything that looks, they were focusing on having like a bunch of climate like disasters in the game. In Battlefield 4, they had a bunch of like destructible environments, things that would change the whole map. Now they want to step up, and they were doing like tornadoes was the big one that they showed in the trailer. But this is another game, and this is why I was saying it's been like stepping back to 2015 or whatever, that I went back and I've been playing a lot of Battlefield 4 multiplayer. Super fun, even though the game is 2013. It's what does that make it? Almost 8 years old, which is kind of crazy to think about. I think it came out in December. But this one also very fun. I think they're getting more players, and it comes out later this year, maybe. I forget the release date on it. But this will be another one I definitely be interested in playing through, because they have squad play as well. So I don't know if you played Battlefield 4 or Battlefield Bad Company 2, maybe, if you played that one.
I think I played that one. That's the only one that I think I ever played, actually.
Both fun.
Bad Company 2 and like Vietnam and stuff. Yeah. Harvest Day. Fantastic maps. Fantastic games.
2142.
No, that wasn't that like the PC one that everyone liked?
PC.
Yeah.
It was fun. They had like a walker looking thing that kind of resembled like the things from Star Wars, except with 2 legs that you could get in. And I don't know, or even Battlefield 2 on PC was just super fun way back in the day.
Yeah. That's the one that I wish I had a PC that was able to play at that time. I would have definitely played it.
Yeah, we had this old Dell computer that was like super nice for the time that my dad had gotten, and me and Matt were playing it. Yeah, those were the two, and that was back in the days of dial-up. So we had our neighbor Marty, and we'd have walkie-talkies.
Discord's first edition. Yeah,
good.
No,
that's great.
That one definitely. As we're slowly bleeding you into more PC games, I would love for you to get that and pick that up for the holiday season as well. And also, the last thing on Halo is that the multiplayer is completely free, so that's kind of cool.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Then you just have to pay for campaign, which obviously I'm sure you will do, and I will do.
Oh, 100%.
Because it'll be worth it regardless.
I'm the moment the pre-orders began, I'm pre-ordering. So
yeah.
that's gonna happen. I've already set in stone. I'm like, listen, this money that is in my bank account is for Halo. That's it. I don't like. Oh, the game's the game's actually gonna cost $300. Okay, sounds good. I'll save up.
Yep, that was in my emergency funds in case I got the legendary edition.
Yeah. Well, there goes my savings. But hey, man, I got it.
Yeah. No, it'd definitely be worth it. I'm fully bought back into the hype. It's fun. But yeah. Wow.
Right,
okay. Impromptu news, video game news session, but we can go back to the NBA.
Okay. The other thing too, I was gonna say is if you want to, you can hang around, but that's up to you, Danny. You're at this point. The soccer session's done, but we can. I mean, you can keep going if you want.
Yeah, we got the NBA, we got MLB, we got Olympics.
I got anything productive to say?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, then in that case, we shift over to. Wait, is that guy on the Clippers? I think I don't know. I haven't seen him in the game.
You can't see that, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. No, he's not in the game right now because he just disappears in important games. Hey, we're back talking about the Clippers. Wow, I just ripped Paul George, and I have a Paul George jersey in my closet too, which is also hilarious.
You're a traitor. You're his biggest fan.
My problem with Paul George is that I know how he is. Like, I know who he is at this point. And you can say all you want about the injury and all that, and I get it. Yeah, obviously the injury is a huge deal, and what happened to him
Snapping
sucks.
his ankle in half.
Yeah, literally, it sucks. It's not great. But the point of it is we're 5 years later into it, and Paul George is still Paul George that we know him every year to be, which is the one where he is great for a game or two in a series, and then he fades away for the rest of it. And that's what's happening. I actually looked over, and he was at the free throw line, and I think in the third, we're about to go into the fourth quarter of this game because I'm watching it live over here on the right to kind of keep myself in tune because obviously the Suns might win the series.
Yep.
I think he has 15 points going into the fourth quarter. So if that doesn't tell you how Paul George is, then I don't know what else to tell you, because that's what Paul George is. Paul George will give you a game or two of incredible Paul George play where you go, hey, maybe we can build around him. Maybe we're bringing 2014 Paul George back. And then he resorts back to how he's been the last couple of years, which is that he'll disappear in important games like this, and that's it. And I'm not saying that the Clippers, should have won or like they were favorites by any means. Obviously, the Suns are favorites, but they should at least put up more of a fight when you have a guy like Paul George on your team, and then you have a pretty solid team around him. Obviously, losing Kawhi is not something that I'm glossing over. Losing Kawhi, who's one of the best two-way players in the league, is going to hurt your team no matter what team you are. But the point still stands that if Paul George ever wants to be better than a 2 or a third option on a team, he needs to figure out how to actually show up in the rest of the series. So
yeah,
that's my little thing on Paul George. I loved Paul George back in 2013 and 2014 when he was tearing it up for the Pacers and he looked like he was about to become like 2014 was like, man, it's going to be for the next 10 years, it's going to be Durant, LeBron and Paul George at the top, and everybody else looking up. And then Paul George had that massive injury, which obviously sucked and is terrible, and I don't wish it upon anybody. But the point still stands that 5 years later, Paul George is who he is, which is, a second option on your team at best. And, if really at best, he's, you hope that maybe he's your third option and you don't have to rely on him too much. But he gets you a game or two in a series, which is why he's fine being a 2 or a 3, but he can't be a 1, and that's what he's being asked to do right now for the Clippers, and that's not him. So
yeah. Well, let me say the thing that I noticed. The thing that I noticed was the the reactionary takes back and forth were great, and again, I'm all for that at this point. I've totally subscribed to no nuanced discussion, especially on live threads and things that are like happening, breaking news. It's just the way it is. So now we just kind of encourage it. But when he went from like the commercial that he had, there was like no OT tonight and everything that came up. Seeing that everywhere when he botched the free throws and then they ended up losing that game a couple games ago. Fantastic. Love it. Always inject that in my veins. And then the next day or the next game after that, when they completely turn the narrative around and they're just like, wow, see, Paul George, great game. Kind of turns the narrative around, right? Like, it doesn't seem like he's that much of a choker anymore now, does it? And then the next game after that, something similar happens, and we might be even seeing something again like live here happening. It's always fun. It's really hard to keep up with, especially if you don't watch every single game, to see what's true. Because if you're coming in as a casual fan, I'm like, oh, does Paul George suck now, or is he good? And it's literally like, oh, it depends. Is it Tuesday or is it Thursday? So that's how quick things change.
Well, the thing in the NBA is that in the NBA, there's clear ones on a team. That's your first option, your primary scorer, who you go to every game. Then there's 2s who are great, Robins to Batman. There's great running mates. Pippen is probably the most famous running mate to Jordan. Fun fact, this little topic we'll talk about later is whatever the hell Pippen's trying to do. So, oh my freaking God, Craig. I
just wanted to bring that up so you saw that.
Oh God, Jawai, by the way, 2 A's in the last name, Craig. Gosh, get it right, man. The dude owned you. So not to toot my own horn here, I'm pretty good at 2K. And back in the day, I was playing Craig in 2K, and I told him that I just picked a random team to play against him. And so I picked FC Barcelona basketball, like the basketball Barcelona team. And it had the center was Nathan Jawai, who was like a 30-year-old 6'6" or 6'9", like, undersized, overweight center for the Barcelona team, and I lit him up with Jawai. I scored like 50 points. Like, it was stupid. Like, it was like every time I just go down the lane and be like, Jawai, yes, got it. Like, and just dominated. So the fact that he just pulled that out, dear God, I can't. Oh God, that was pulling something from the memory banks right there.
Also, shout out to Aaron, which I don't know if you saw that earlier, but
yeah,
very true.
As soon as I saw it.
I saw that when Danny was talking, and I burst it.
I should have wore my Andy Reid jersey shirt that I wore for our. That was way back when the podcast started, when I wore my What was it, the Super Bowl prep like podcast or whatever that we did that was like 2.5 hours long?
Yeah, it literally might have been this shirt. I'm almost inclined to pick this up because apparently we shop at the same place all the time. So
well, that's because I finally forced you to start buying from them because I was like, listen, they make good stuff that's not expensive.
Oh my god, it's true.
Old Navy, by the way, that's what I'm talking about. I don't know, Danny, if you ever shop there, but I've been arguing with Dylan for years to buy like something with color in it, and Dylan has finally gotten inspired to start buying some more colorful shirts and things. And this is right here is the
this is like straight up the other designs are exactly like the other ones that they have.
He's a man of reason.
Wow.
Yeah, Andy Reid is a fashion icon.
Nisa?
Right, look at that.
Yeah.
So, wow. We gotta resort back to the conversation. So, back to what we were talking about. Yeah, no, the Clippers are going to lose this game. So, right now, I think the Suns are up like by 20. So, it's basically over for them. The Clippers are done. The Suns are moving on to the championship. The Suns, though, are a team that it's funny because I actually put in my notes for this. I put, are the Suns in jeopardy of losing the championship at this point? And now with the injuries that are happening in the Eastern Conference Finals, I don't know, because I genuinely think that this is probably like, I thought the Suns were a magical team before and we're going to win it all anyways, just off of being like, I don't know, that team. But then, now with the injuries to Giannis and Trey, like it doesn't matter which team makes it out of the East because they're not going to be healthy enough to compete against the Suns team. And whoever makes it, the Suns are going to win in 6. And so I'm, that's the Suns basically are the champions now. Like I said, I put a question mark on it and was like, are the Suns in jeopardy? But again, I wrote these notes before the Giannis injury that happened yesterday. So
yeah,
pretty crazy. Which the Giannis injury, I mean, man, that was wild. We'll talk about that in a minute. We'll pull up that when we get to that topic. But yeah, I think the Suns are just playing just amazing basketball right now. They're just the better team overall. Chris Paul has basically kind of, we all knew Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton needed to grow together because obviously they were just super young. Both of them, I'm pretty sure Devin Booker's like 21 years old and DeAndre Ayton's like 20. So they both needed to grow together. And, I'm surprised they made this much of a stride over 1 year. But the thing is last year, everybody was saying that they could make a jump. It's just that they needed a point guard who was going to be able to distribute the ball well and kind of get them, and then also contribute enough as like a, go-to option on the offensive side to help Devin Booker out a little bit as far as the shooting goes. And they got that perfectly in Chris Paul. The only issue with Chris Paul was everybody was worried about whether or not he'll stay healthy.
Yep.
Obviously we've seen that Chris Paul can stay healthy for a pretty long season. And now in these playoffs, he's, been doing great. I'm going to knock on wood because I'm definitely not trying to jinx him. But yeah, he's been great and he's been playing well and the team's been playing well. And I honestly love that the Suns are going to win it because the Suns are always good and they always have been good. They were great when Steve Nash and Amar'e Stoudemire were running that D'Antoni 8-second offense.
You mean Leandro Barbosa?
Yeah, oh yeah. Back when Leandro Barbosa was dominating with the freaking Suns. That's what I'm talking about right there. So
Shawn Marion and his incredibly unorthodox shot.
Yes, that was that dude. Shawn Marion's shot from his chest. Dylan, I don't know if you know who Shawn Marion is, but if you can look at my camera for a second. So the way that he shot the ball was that he literally would take the ball and he would go like this from his waist or from his chest.
Did he happen to have any volleyball history? Because I've always been curious about if people do that from being setters.
I don't know. It was like Joakim Noah, but like if he shot it from his chest.
Yeah. No, that I've always genuinely wondered that because if you are an accurate setter, there's not too much of a difference when you're taking a shot. Because I mean, if you have that accuracy with your fingers and you do have that weird shot for basketball, I mean, I can see crossover. I've seen Stranger Things, so I can see that working.
Good series.
Yeah.
I was gonna make that joke too. He's an NBA player, so I mean it's not like he was bad by any means. So
and he was a good NBA player too.
Yeah, he was a very good NBA player.
The Suns and the Mavs. I don't know where else he was.
And I think he win the championship with the Mavs when they won it.
He might have been on the team when they did.
So yeah, they no by no means a bad player. So he that Suns team was fun, and they've always been fun. And so it's one of those where I'm honestly really glad that they're finally starting to basically have a championship team. And I absolutely love that you basically have 4 teams in here that haven't won a championship in so many years. For some of them, not ever.
Oh, I don't think the Suns ever have, right? Or
Yeah, no.
Did the Bucks win it like way back when? Maybe it's a different franchise.
Oh man, if Aaron's in the chat listening, Aaron, let me know if the Bucks have ever won a championship. I can't remember.
I think no.
I know they didn't when they had Jesus Shuttleworth. By the way, good reference there.
I know Barkley never won one with the Suns.
No, because he got knocked out, but that was the year they lost to the Bulls in 6. Yeah, so
the Hawks, I feel like may have with Olajuwon.
Bucks were because Bucks did. Sorry, the Bucks had that was back when they had Kareem in the early days with, and that was when he was Lowell Cinder still, and he had what's his man, the original triple double man, for a season. What's his name? The Big O. Oscar Robertson. There we go.
Robertson, yeah.
All right.
Man, I got excited. One of the Google searches that came up was Sean Marion volleyball, but like it's one of those ones where it just links to nothing. Thought I would be right.
No, but either way, it was a very good Oscar Rob. Yeah, that makes sense. So the Bucks did win it way back in the 60s, which is, obviously they're overdue. So, either way, I'm happy. And I know the Bucks are probably going to win that series against the Hawks, which we'll talk about in a minute actually. But yeah, this just to finish up with the Suns. I'm excited for them to finally be good enough to win a championship, and I think they're going to win the championship. So I'll say that now. Now, obviously, who their opponent's going to be, we'll talk about that with Giannis going down, which was a very scary injury when you saw it live. It did not look good, and the fact that the reports have come back basically that it was a hyperextension, but that's where the line ends. There was no structural damage. All the ligaments are intact,
which is literally incredible. Like,
it's insane.
That's legitimately like adamantium, or oh my god, vibranium, adamantium. There's another one, vibranium.
All of the above.
Yeah, that's
all of the above.
The injury was disgusting. Any normal person, I feel like that you'd be done, but I don't know how you end up surviving, get away from that.
Legs.
Yeah,
just come back into shape.
And how much? And if he was locked up in pain, like I thought for sure. I think it was like consensus. People were like, "Oh yeah, he's done." My favorite part are all the like the YouTube doctors and everything that like 5 minutes after it happened, they're like, "Boom, Giannis, like he might have structural damage. Like it looks like an ACL tear to me." There's a bunch of frauds. It's a very big it's a very big thing. Usually they're not even like retired doctors. They're really just like fake doctors.
I did not catch that on social media and stuff, but I also, it's not surprising. They jump in as soon as they get the opportunity. They're like, oh, this is something, that I can jump on. Yep. Yeah. Watching it, I was just like, I can't believe, like when I heard the news that there was no structural damage and no ligament damage, I was like, wow, what a lucky, obviously getting injured is not great in any way possible, but just the luckiest possible way you could have done it. Is incredible. And I don't know, because they said his timetable is unknown at this point. I don't know if he's going to be ready even for the finals if they do win that series, which I think they will, by the way. I'm just going to throw it out there. I think they will win it via Chris Middleton. I think they have the best player in the series. When you pull Trey and Giannis out of that series, I think Chris Middleton's the best one in that series then, and I think he's going to be able to basically will the Bucks, who are just an overall better team, past them. So I think the Bucks will win the series, probably in 7. But my thought was, which I actually extended this to you before, was I thought if the Hawks did end up winning, a game there. So like, let's say Chris Middleton pulls the Bucks to a win tomorrow. And then game 6, the Hawks do somehow pull out a win. I was wondering, I'm like, do they, if they are close to bringing Giannis back and they really want him for the finals, do they consider it in game 7? Like, is he available? Is he on the bench maybe? And he's like, he can come in if needed. That's something that I was thinking about too. That was kind of in my mind. I don't know. I think the Bucks are going to end up winning the series, like I said, no matter what, because I think like they have the better team. And like I said, I think I would trust Chris Middleton over anybody else on the Hawks to basically pull that series to a close.
Oh man, you don't believe in Ginger Boy?
Yeah, no, I do not believe in who is that? Kevin, is that Kevin Huerter that you're talking about, or?
I forgot his name right now, but
that's the point. That right there's the point. Yeah, that's no, the Hawks. The Hawks are way too young of a team and too inexperienced to win, especially with, like I said, Chris Middleton, who's an established veteran who's playing really well and who's one of the more underappreciated stars in the league. I have faith that the Bucks are going to win the series. I don't know. I don't think they're going to win the championship. Sorry, Aaron, if you're listening in the chat. I really don't think they're going to win the championship, but it's one of those where, they'll be there at least. And, it's unfortunate because it's one of those where I go, man, if Giannis was fully healthy, maybe the Bucks have a shot, but it's one of those where if Giannis isn't fully healthy, I don't think it's going to happen. So, Suns in 6 is my prediction. That's where I'm going. Yeah. So
you mentioned if they were going to have Giannis available for like a game 7, they would have to do that. I always find those conversations really interesting because I feel like it's a really damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. And I feel like that's not really a unique thought, but the fact that like, okay, you could have him come in if he needed. You could have like a Harden situation or whatever when he was at his worst and he was a distraction. He played, decently well, but he couldn't move that well. And then you either don't play him and then maybe they lose, and then you have the conversation all the time like, well, okay, you're gonna have the stupid conversations that talking heads will come up with like, oh, is he not tough enough, blah blah blah, all that stuff. But I'm more concerned with the this was your best shot to win a ring, everyone else was injured around the league, you kind of have to push him at that point, or of course you're risking long-term health if he ends up making things worse, if it's like a long-term injury he aggravates or ends up even causing something different because your body overcompensates. If you're injured on one side, your other side's going to pick up the slack. So
that's what happened to D Rose.
Yeah, exactly. So it's literally just built for controversy because whatever happens, it's going to be a talking point and something to go over. And then, hindsight's 2020 and everything. You might be like, oh, for the next 10 years, be like, yeah, that was their best shot. Or maybe he'll go somewhere else and like, yeah, they could have kept Giannis, but that was the game. They had to sit him out. So
yeah, unfortunately, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation where it's, like you said, do you take, do you play him in a game 7 where you have nothing to, you have everything to lose, but, and also everything to win if you do, or, do you sit him out because, you trust your team can make it and can win out without him and then he'll be ready for the finals, or, is he even going to be available for the finals? We don't really know because they just said his timetable's unknown at this point. So really at this point, it's a toss up on whether or not he's going to actually be available. So, and this injury looks scary. Like it looked like it doesn't matter if the Bucks are in the finals, he's not going to play, but who knows, honestly. So yeah, I don't know how that's going to go. I could see them making him available for game 7, like putting him on the bench, ready to go in, warmed up, everything. But I don't know if they would put him in unless it was really dire. Like, unless it was like really desperate, they would, I don't think you're going to see Giannis or Trae the rest of the series. And I think, like I said, that leads the Bucks as a slightly better team are going to win out. So that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah. Okay, and then
I think if they put the ball in the hoop,
would you say maybe in the hoop more times than the other team?
Yes, as we always like to say, and the great wisdom of Trent Dilfer, you can't win if you lose the game.
That is probably the best advice that anybody's ever given me. So that is
it's classic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And won a Super Bowl, so he knows what he's talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah. Super Bowl winning quarterback, by the way. Thank you.
Yep. So, and speaking of champions, first off, I owe a second shot, and I think before this conversation, I need that second shot. So I'm just gonna take that now.
Okay.
And, it's a solid cheers to everybody out there.
Clink clink. Sipping on my water, but I applaud.
Ooh.
Yeah, wash it down with a seltzer.
Oh yeah, wash it down with a seltzer because I'm a baby. Okay.
Who's a big boy?
Thanks. Thank you, Danny. So, all right, let's start this off. What's going on with Pippen? Dude, why? Why are you doing this? Why are you taking shots at people when you don't need to? Like, it's just, did you hear it? Oh man. So do you know the comments that he's been making and the things he's been saying?
Yeah, I heard a couple in regards to like Durant and everything. Yeah, I've seen generally the pigheadedness going on.
Yeah, so
but review, please.
First off, let's put this in context. Pippen announced he's coming out with a book that is going to be about the Bulls and his experience, and it's going to be from his perspective because he believes The Last Dance didn't represent his perspective, which to all of us went, well, yeah, that was kind of the point. It was from Jordan's perspective. Thank you. So I love Pippen. Everybody in Chicago loves Pippen. He's way undervalued because he played next to the greatest player of all time. So, it's hard to rate somebody like that, but he definitely deserves to be in the top 100 players of all time and way up there because he's a fantastic two-way player, an incredible scorer, and one of the best of all time. Now, the one thing I will say though is sometimes Pippen just needs to cut his losses and stop opening his mouth sometimes, because just sometimes he just does some things and says some things where I just go, Pippen, that's why you're Pippen and not Jordan. Like, it's just so like, and this is one of those moments. So basically there was an exchange between him and Durant, which is why they're both on the screen right now, where he said something about how he doesn't think that Durant is the best scorer of all time or something like that, or is one of the greatest scorers of all time, basically because he just doesn't believe, I forget what reasons he cited, which kind of ridiculous. I mean, Durant is one of the best scorers of all time. I'm not ready to put him on the all-time list yet. His career's not over. We'll wait and see. But the point is, he's still one of the greatest scorers of all time. And the man's 7 foot tall, can handle the ball like a freaking guard, and can shoot anywhere in the gym. He's obviously should deserve that one of those, that title of being one of the greatest scorers. Now, what he said back to him was hilarious, where he basically said, isn't that the guy who sat out and just refused to go in when he wasn't going to be given the last shot in a game? So that was, a pretty honest shot, which for those who don't know, back in the 95 season, I think it was 94? It was 94. The 94 season when Jordan sat out and retired for that year and a half, Pippen basically took over the team as like the leader, which is, it's understandable considering Jordan left and the next alpha in the room was Pippen. So Pippen took over that team, and the team was really good. They made the playoffs and everything. They were much better than people give them credit for. And Pippen was a big reason why. One of the games where it came down to the last shot, the Bulls had the ball, a couple seconds on the clock, the drill. Of course, everybody in the building goes, Pippen's getting the ball. Pippen's getting the shot. Well, Phil Jackson, that is the head coach, is one of those guys that, is, unorthodox and likes to, change it up, and knows that, hey, everybody in the building and everybody in the world knows that Pippen's getting the ball here. So why don't we give it to Tony Kukoc, who we also trust to make the shot? And if you watch Tony Kukoc in the past, he's made shots several times in his career from a very similar spot in very similar circumstances. So he's a very trustworthy person in that position. Pippen did not like that. Pippen wanted the last shot and was very upset by that, and basically took himself out of the game. It was to the point where Phil said, where's Pippen? And I forget who it was that said it to him, but basically said he's not going in. And so Pippen just refused and took himself out. And guess what? Tony Kukoc got the ball and hit the shot, and they won the game. So, but it was one of those where it got like emotional after the game in the locker room, where players were basically like, it was like a meeting, and he apologized to the team, but the damage had already been done. And everybody was like, listen, dude, you were supposed to be a ride or die kind of guy with us. You were our leader. And then you just decided to just take yourself out of the game, literally, because you didn't want to, you weren't getting the last shot. Makes no sense. So, especially because Pippen for a while was known as one of the prototypical, I mean, he's probably what inspired him and Magic Johnson are the ones that inspired like the point forward prototype that LeBron kind of, ended up becoming in the NBA. So for Pippen, it's being a distributor of the ball more so than Jordan was. And, he took that role on great and was fantastic at it. It was kind of crazy to see Pippen reject basically, letting one of his teammates take the shot over him. And that's kind of unfortunately how Pippen's always been. The whole contract situation was ridiculous. Pippen deserved to be paid way higher than he was. We all knew that, but he had locked himself into a bad contract for a lot longer than he should have. But you also had to understand his situation where he was when he did that. He needed the money. His family needed the money. He had two members of his family, his immediate family, that lived in his house when he grew up that were in wheelchairs. You can't imagine how difficult that is for a poor family to have to deal with that. So I get where he's coming from, and I get why he signed the contract, because it's immediate money now. And it locks you in for a long term, so you're safe if you injure yourself. Of course, years down the road, when Jordan's getting paid $30 million because he didn't do that, you're like, hey, why am I not getting paid? Well, you locked yourself into a contract. And we all know Jerry Krause was made out to be the bad guy of that entire docuseries. And, to some degree, Jerry Krause deserves some of the blame, but he also put the team together. So, how much can you really blame him for it, considering he put a team together that was 6 championships? So, he deserves some credit for sure, but definitely deserves some blame, especially in the way that Pippen was handled, because they should have paid Pippen and just changed his contract and, done away with the last couple of years and kind of restructured it, essentially, kind of how they do everywhere else. So that's the backstory, the full backstory on Pippen. And then, and I'm with Pippen a little bit, even like him taking shots at certain players, fine with that. I'm good. Pippen deserves it. He's got the credit. He's one of the best in the world. He was a very similar Durant styled player before Durant. So I get it. But the fact is that he then went and said something that it was one of those where I just go, I don't really know even what you're meaning by this, but the fact that you said it really is just Pippen-like. And it's that he came out and said basically that Phil Jackson was racist for giving
that's what I was going to add on as well.
Shot. And oh my God, it was just one of those moments where I just go, Pippen. Like, dude, come on. We love you. You're great. I mean, you won 6 championships. Just please don't go there. And then he did. And I know somewhere in my heart that it's probably all for the publicity. We all know that that's the case. We all know it's for the publicity, and it's for his upcoming book that's coming out. Draw up some drama, and here you go. Bam. Everybody wants to buy the book to get his side of the story. Which, Pippen, people probably would have bought it regardless, because you're Scottie Pippen. You were literally Michael Jordan's running mate. All you had to do was advertise as like, hey, I was Michael Jordan's running mate. I'm coming out with a book about my stories. And everybody's going to run out and buy it, Pippen. You didn't have to go and do that. And then he said that. And I just went, I don't get where you're coming from, dude. Like, it's not, Phil Jackson didn't even care or want Tony Kukoc on the team. It's not like he expressed that. It was literally Jerry Krause's like baby. Like, Phil Jackson allowed you to just dominate for so long and ran this triangle offense, and he never, ask Rodman how he feels about Phil Jackson. I mean, part of the reason why Rodman was so incredible in those final 3 championships for the Bulls is because of Phil Jackson, because Phil Jackson was such a, like, I don't know, kindred spirit, I guess you would say, with him. So it's just the fact that you say that he was racist for the shot, and I know he tried to clarify his statements later, and he said something else to try to, make up for it, because he realized that the statement he said was so outlandish.
It's a bad take,
Like, everybody scratched their head and was like, Pippen, come on. And then it doesn't help that everybody, like, from The Last Dance is like, yeah, Pippen's great, but, like, he's also Pippen and does some things like that. And so it didn't help. But anyways, that was another headline that came across the screen that I wanted to talk about, and I saw. I don't know if you got your take on that, or even if Danny's got a take on that.
I'll go first for this. So the quote that he was talking about, the one that was at least the most decisive or whatever, was KD, as great as his offense was, it turned out to be his worst enemy because he didn't know how to play team basketball. He kept trying to go punch for punch. I watched a little bit of that series. That wasn't the issue.
No.
I mean, what, Kyrie was already out? Harden was hurt at this point, or not? Yeah, he was completely out.
Kyrie was not playing in it. James Harden was basically a decoy because he was literally on one leg. I mean, the man scored freaking what?
2 like almost 50. Or sorry, KD almost
Kevin
50.
Durant played every single minute of a playoff series and scored 49 points. So,
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong. I hate KD. I hate the way he presents himself and everything. He's fun to watch or whatever. He seems like an ass. I don't really like him that much. But that's just wrong. Like, the team Kevin wasn't Durant, there. He couldn't play team basketball without a team.
No, Kevin Durant is he's one of the most annoying superstars that's ever existed because he does he had the burner accounts. He's had like the multiple. Yeah. Danny's laughing. He had the burner accounts. He had all those issues.
That was the funniest thing.
Yeah, he takes offense to things, and it's like, dude, you're one of the greatest.
Did you see the whole thing with like Michael Rappaport? I think a while back.
Yes, that was another thing too. I think we covered that even. That was in one of our clips. He just is such a frustrating superstar because it's like, dude, stop listening to everybody. Just dominate. Just be one of the greatest scorers of all time, like you are.
It's kind of childish in that sense, the way he deals with that stuff. But I mean, granted, he's under way more of immense scrutiny. But I mean, you see his peers and how they handle it. He could see them as an example and figure it out.
It makes me so happy that underneath all of it, he really is bothered by the fact that nobody cares about his Warriors ring. Like, literally nobody cares. Because they're just like, yeah, no, you just completely just like hopped on the backpack right there. And he's like, no, to this day still maintains that he took the hardest road. And I remember seeing that.
Don't get me wrong. So his arguments in that series are really bad because he's arguing that they still had a difficult time. Dude, you guys were one of the greatest super teams that ever were built in the NBA. But the problem is that people, because of that, aren't going to look at the series itself. Durant made some crazy, like, clutch, important shots in that series.
Yeah.
But the problem is that, dude, don't talk about that series like you guys were the underdogs in any way. Like, we all knew you were the favorites to win the championship the moment you signed on. It's just that you did hit some incredible shots in that series that were very clutch and important, that you yourself did, and that's a great feat. But please don't like come at us with like this, our team was struggling and your team was way built for.
I mean, they won it without him beforehand.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like it's already proven that they could do it without Kevin Durant.
Yeah, they won it with Harrison Barnes. You replaced Harrison Barnes, and shocker, you guys were favored to win it.
I mean, it's a different, and there's something to be said for. It's an entirely different thing. Like, that's why I think people were going to be a little bit more like people who were hating on Kevin Durant now were just like, oh, that'd be great. Like, maybe he'll carry him through this or whatever. I know obviously the Nets were like these, a similar super team or whatever, but without Harden and Kyrie playing, it was kind of cool. It's like, okay, he might carry them. He might drop 50, points back to back or whatever and literally carry them into the next round. That's a lot harder than the fact that, in theory, you could slack off and you still have like, I forget if Clay was injured at that point, but it was like Clay and Curry at the same time. You don't have to take that load. There is alternatives. And the Nets team that he currently, just lost out with, there wasn't anybody else. So that's a little bit more respectable than the fact that like, yeah, you did a really cool thing and you did like step up and make those shots and everything, but you didn't have to. There were alternatives. There's somebody else who could take your spot. And that's not the same, it's just not the same feat, I guess.
Yeah. So, overall, to sum up the argument, Kevin Durant is one of the greatest scorers of all time. I've said it multiple times, and I'm going to, I say it again now. He is, and so was Pippen. Pippen was one of the greatest two-way players and one of the greatest players of all time. Pippen, we know your book's coming out. We know that what you're saying is starting to build drama for it. Just stop with the dumb, it was racist that Tony Kukoc took the shot. Dude, you just decided to pull yourself out of the game. Live to that. You're going to have to live with that for the rest of your life. You're the one that did it. Move on. So that's, where we go from there.
Yeah. I mean, it worked. So, we're talking about it now. I mean, I'm not going to buy his book, but, it's in the headlines, I guess. But, boy, that damages your character. But anyways, we can move back to a fantastic callback.
Yes. Shift it back to one of our good videos. Shohei Ohtani is just Unbelievable, dude. And the funny part is today he actually had a bad outing today. So it's funny that we're talking about him. He had a bad outing today against the Yankees. He was pulled in the first inning. His ERA actually went from 2.58 to 3.6, so it actually went up a whole point or whole run.
Wow.
But regardless, dude was, dude at one point had a stat where he was leading the league in home runs and was also the starting pitcher who had under a 3 ERA, which is insane. I mean, even a 3.6 ERA, which is where he's at right now, is respectable for a starter. And the dude's also leading the league in home runs and is just slugging percentages off the charts, his hits, his average, just everything about the guy. The guy is literally a second Babe Ruth coming. That is awesome and unbelievable. And for the first time in Major League Baseball, we might actually have the AL MVP and the NL MVP be a pitcher in both categories, which is incredible. Because in the AL, you have obviously Ohtani, who's just dominating out of his mind. And then in the NL, you have DeGrom, who is just, I don't know what kind of, cereal DeGrom's eating in the morning, but that man is just on another level as far as pitching. It's literally, we've never seen a season like he's having before. So, yeah. And to put it in perspective, DeGrom injured his shoulder in a game against the Cubs and pitched 3 innings. And he had some shoulder tightness, so he left the game. In those 3 innings, he struck out 8 of 9 batters and had a perfect game through 3 innings. Those are the 3 innings before he left with an injury.
Craig said he has... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, did you see the tweet that the minor league team had when he was rehabbing against them?
Yeah.
What was it?
Oh wait, what was it?
There's a minor league team that he did like a couple innings of rehab work against. It. They were tweeting about it, like essentially just making fun of how good he was, and like I'd have to go find it.
You go find that, and we'll continue to talk about Ohtani. So right here, Craig actually brought it up with a couple stats: 49 extra base hits hitting and only given up 39 hits as a pitcher. I don't know if that also accounts for tonight as against the Yankees, which he had a bad outing, but regardless, those stats are ridiculous. That's stupid and absurd. And Ohtani is just on another level, and I'm all for it. I can't wait. I'm so excited for him to be in the home run derby. He's my favorite. He's the one I'm rooting for. And the other thing too is so for people that don't generally know, the home run derby is something that teams are fearful for their player to play in. The reason why they're fearful for their player to play in is because the home run derby sometimes messes with players' swings. Because when you swing in the home run derby, you're swinging at a ball that's thrown, 50 miles per hour down the middle of the zone by a person that throws you pitching, hitting practice. So it's a different swing. You're swinging for power and you're hitting a ball that's not coming as fast. So you kind of have to add the power in yourself. Whereas, the ball is going across the plate so fast in a regular game, as long as you make very, solid contact and you've got a little power behind it, you're going to hit it far. With the home run derby, it's different. You have to bring the power that you're lacking in the speed of the pitch. So that adds a little bit to it. So your swing changes, and a lot of times that messes with players, especially players that go far into the home run derby, because they take so many swings at that weird kind of, swing, like where they're compensating for power and everything, that it kind of messes with the rest of their season, because then they're, kind of almost leaning into that power type swing rather than just swinging for contact, which is what they were doing the rest of the year and why they brought them here. Ohtani, though, I actually think that Ohtani's swing itself will be okay. And it's because his swing, like the way that he swings the bat is in such a way that to me, it just feels like he's going to be okay. Like it feels like the way that he does it, it's just like he swings he's low. So usually when you swing at a ball, you're taught to swing level or even under it a little bit if you're going for a little bit more of a power swing. His is just generally under it naturally, but he has such a great just stroke where he just gets such a great hip rotation and power coming through his hips into the swing that I don't think he's going to have a problem with the home run derby. And I think he's honestly the favorite to win it. And I know that sounds, obviously he's the home run leader in the league. Is he you would think, oh, the home run leader is the favorite. Sometimes that doesn't happen that way. So a lot of times, Pete Alonso won it last year as a rookie. A lot of times the guy that's having a great year, might not be the favorite. But I think honestly Ohtani's the favorite because his swing to me feels like a home run derby swing on its own in a natural game. So I don't think he's going to have to really change it very much, especially because the power he generates as a pitcher in his hips and legs is going to translate to the power swing that he has to have and the power that he has to bring in the home run derby. So I honestly think he's my favorite and my pick to win it all. And I'm going to be rooting for him anyways, because obviously rooting for a pitcher to win the home run derby is fantastic. So I'm rooting for him regardless, but yeah, I think he'll be fine. I think his swing is fine. So I don't think he'll have a problem with it, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah. No, what was I? I'm sorry, I completely lost my train of thought on that part of it. No, I think I was going to point out that yeah, that's right. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I was going to point out that every time I pull up our channel, it always starts out with the Ohtani video, and on the Ohtani video, you said the same thing you're saying now, which is a good prediction. It's like that he's playing on another level. So I just rung in my ears again because I pulled it up like a billion times. You're like, yeah, I just want to say Ohtani is playing on another level right now. So I've got that on loop in my head. But you were right. And it's also, again, like that was one of our most popular videos and still gets like seen every day, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, sorry, that's where I was going with this. I got it now. Friend of the show, not actually friend of the show. He just messaged me on Twitter a couple of times. Brett Coleman, one of my favorite people to follow, makes some of the best videos also to watch. And also has really crazy good production value and everything that he does.
We do love Brett Coleman with all our football hearts.
His most recent video had the cocktail intros back in, which were one of the best parts of his videos. Was really happy about him walking through making them. But yeah, so always check his stuff out. But I didn't know the significance of this so much myself, but I thought you might. And he said in one of his tweets recently, saying that I cannot believe I'm writing these words, but Mike Trout is an undisputed top 5 player, and he's not even the best dude on his own team anymore.
Yeah, I read that tweet off to the guys at work because I was like, this is so accurate, but it's so it's like it's just crazy because like in recent memory, the only pitcher I can think of is like Carlos Zambrano, who for the Cubs, who was like a dangerous hitter at times, but also a great pitcher. It's just to meet this level of pitching with this level of hitting is insane. It just doesn't happen. That's why in that video I said he's playing like Babe Ruth. I wasn't making an understatement or an overstatement. I was literally stating what we're observing, which is the fact that it does not make sense that we're watching the home run leader in Major League Baseball also having an under a 3 ERA. And again, I know this ERA jumped up to a 3.6 after the Yankees game. That's one game. I'm talking about the sustained success that he's had over the course of a season. Now, the problem with Ohtani is the question is always going to be, is he going to stay healthy enough? And the problem for teams, in his own team, the Angels, moving down the road is where do you keep him? Do you keep him as a pitcher and if he tweaks his elbow, then he's done as a pitcher and maybe as a hitter? Or do you move him more as a hitter? Maybe you teach him, right field or, stick him out in the outfield or something like that, where, you're able to keep him in games and as a consistent hitter because, you value that, over him as a pitcher. It's just insane. And you got that DeGrom tweet?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just posted in there.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say is when you're talking about dangerous pitchers for hitting, I think you're clearly forgetting someone who is just an amazing hitter. You're forgetting about Big Sexy. Bartolo Colon.
Oh, yes. I forgot about oh my God.
His home run when he was like 39 or 41, whatever it was.
Yeah. And didn't he get caught for like steroids twice or something?
I think he's pitching in Mexico now, but like he hit his first home run at like 39 or 40, something stupid like that when he was on the Mets.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's hilarious. Man, we're confused too, don't worry. That's great. Yeah, and then like I said, on the opposite side of the conferences, Jacob deGrom is just doing something that I don't think anybody has ever seen before, and we haven't. I mean, the lowest ERA I think by a pitcher was like 1.3 or something like that, and DeGrom's at like a 0.5. Like he's like so significant. He's literally a whole run better than the best we've ever seen. And so it doesn't make sense. And then he's batting like 400 something. Which is just stupid too. Granted, he's not a home run hitter by any means. His hits that he's getting are, contact hits that are, getting him a single or, maybe a double here and there. So he's not hitting for power. But the simple fact that he's hitting as well as he is, on top of the fact that he's dominating. And I watched him pitch, and it's the control. That's really what it boils down to, is the control that he has on the ball is insane. That man can command. It reminds me, the level of control reminds me of Greg Maddux, which is another Hall of Fame pitcher and one of the best control guys. He just, everything, his breaking ball, oh my God, it's literally just watching him pitch is like, like I would look over at my dad and be like, man, I would throw him, a slider inside here. And then he does, and he throws it literally to the spot that I would be like, this is where the ball needs to be. And he throws it right there. Like, and it's so easy for him, and it's so ridiculous. It's so fluid too. Like, it doesn't look like he's going to slow down, because watching him, you fully understand that this man has complete control over the pitches he's throwing, and it does not matter who you put him in, against batting or whatever. I don't know if it's a preparation thing, because the other thing too is knowing tendencies as a pitcher and knowing what hitters favor, what pitches get them in certain situations. If the count gets 2-0, they're swinging, at any breaking ball coming across. But if the count's, 2 or 1-2, then they're taking one. So, you have to hit it in the zone if you're going to catch them. And whereas, like I said, if they're 2-0 and they're biting on everything, you can throw a breaking ball out of the zone slightly, and as long as it appears in, it'll drop and you'll get the strikeout. It's just, I don't know if it's like preparation meets the talent and meets just the quality of ball he's throwing. And I know that this year the ball is a little bit better for grip, and that's why pitchers are doing better. And then it also helps that pitchers are using sticky tack and all these illegal substances that they're now starting to get caught for. And I'm
Trevor
not saying
Bauer talking about that the other day and pretty much telling, I don't know if it was ESPN or whoever, exactly how people do it.
Yeah, well, and then Garrett, and like I said, if you watch our videos on Garrett Cole, where we talked about the sticky stuff, and Garrett Cole, when asked if he's ever used it, literally just interview. I don't know how to answer the question, and you're like, geez, dude, like,
say
for
no.
Love of
just
God,
say no and move on.
Yeah, love of God, just answer no and move. Yeah, just lie like everybody else, for the love of God. Jacob deGrom is by no means, I'm saying he's using any of it, but the command he has on his ball is insane. And that's what separates him. That's what separates a pitcher from, a guy can throw, there's plenty of guys that can throw 95, 96 miles per hour fastballs consistently in a start, but to have the command on your breaking ball that he does and being able to throw a pitch literally anywhere he wants is beyond, anything that anybody has right at the moment, and it's insane. And he's just on another level, and honestly, I hope it continues. And I really do hope that, honest to God, we have two pitchers that win MVP trophies for almost like both good pitchers, but like almost different reasons. Like, one is because he's an incredible hitter, the other one is because he's having just an incredible year. And so that would be amazing. So, and dude, we might have two MVPs that are pitchers that also won Cy Youngs, which are just, again, just insane. Just the thought itself is something that I would joke about a video game having, and then the fact that it's in real life now is insane.
Yeah.
So that's my spiel. That's what I got to say about it. It's crazy. It's great. It's hype. Moving on.
Yeah. No. Totally right. I just like that we had a similar conversation going on a month or two ago, and it's still relevant now. So, love that.
It's great. It's a great player.
Unrelated note: did anyone see Patrick Beverly get ejected?
Yeah, I did.
Pushed Chris Paul in the back when he was walking for the timeout.
Yeah.
Yikes.
DeMarcus Cousins did it too earlier in the game. He just didn't do it as like exaggeratory. I love Patrick Beverley. He's one of my favorite players in the league because he's one of the best defenders in the league, and he also gets in players' heads. Like he can be very like just dumb at times where he does stuff like that and gets ejected. But he's also
that
like
one was just really dumb.
Yeah, but he's also just one of the best. Get in your like at one point he actually genuinely covered LeBron, and like he's a 6'4" point guard that covered LeBron. Like that's the level of like defense and just like getting in your head that he has. So, he's one of my favorite players for that reason. But yeah, that's I saw his ejection. And by the way, the Clippers did lose by like 20 points.
Yep.
Where Paul George is, we have no idea. He wasn't at the game. And Chris Paul, he was there, and congrats to him on making the finals. And I hope that, honest to God, that they win it because
it's his first finals, right?
Yeah, and I would love to see him win it.
That's crazy. Wow, what a wonderful stroke of irony. And the year of crazy injuries, the often injured guy goes to the finals. Wild. Oh yeah, the only thing I wanted to add to the end of the Ohtani is, and we're not going to get into this because we'll go on for it forever, but again, I haven't seen Ohtani anywhere. I haven't seen him or heard him speak in anything. He hasn't permeated outside of the baseball sphere. Admittedly, I don't follow it day to day or anything like that, but again, Mike Trout, super reserved from what I understand, superstar, if you're in the top 5 list or whatever for all time, whatever. Now you have another players in the same level on the same team and still nothing.
Yep.
Like, how do they drop the ball on this consecutively, continuously? How do you get that much of a stroke of luck and still this doesn't go outside of like your own sphere? How come I'm not seeing it everywhere and hearing about it?
I'm going to pull a slight audible. I want you to change the picture to the one that has the young players in it.
Okay.
And we'll bring that up into our next conversation. We'll just skip this part. We don't need to talk about them.
Yeah.
They're good, but we don't need to talk about it. I was just going to mention basically the Dodgers and Giants are playing on another level. No, I'm talking about the ones. Go back to the pictures. I believe it's the one right there. No, the crown. I'm pretty sure, right? Because that's got who's in that? Yeah, Tatis. It's got okay. I think, God, it's so. If anybody is known the channel for as well as we've been going, they know that I rant constantly about the sport that I love, which is baseball, and how unbelievably frustrating the sport can be in actually just getting their players out there and advertising and everything you could possibly think about as far as what a sport should do. And if you want to know what a sport should do, look at the NBA or NFL. Don't look at hockey and don't look at baseball for the love of all things holy, because they have no idea what they're doing. They absolutely do not. I've ranted about this so many times that it hurts my soul to keep doing it, but I keep doing it because I hope to God that at one point some executive hears this and goes, "We're dumb. We need to change this," because they're stupid. They're absolutely dumb. They're ridiculous. God, so angry. I'm so angry when I talk about baseball and how their advertising is just so garbage. It's just unbelievable. I've talked so much. I've talked endlessly about how they could fix it. Go watch our videos if anybody is interested in like trying to understand why baseball sucks. And not that it sucks. I'm not saying the sport sucks. I love baseball with all my heart. Why their advertising department sucks and why they are just trying their very best to lose young fans.
Bleeding the next generation.
God, oh my God. It's just so stupid. And honestly, I was going to say basically one of the things that I think is the only saving grace for Major League Baseball is all of these young players that are just dominating and have a swagger and at least somewhat of a social media presence. Not spectacular. It's not as great as like NBA players or, NFL players at all, or even, football players worldwide. No, it doesn't have that far of a reach, but they at least have some presence on social media. One of them being Tatis Jr., right there for the Padres. Super young, great talent, signed to a massive deal for the Padres, a team that's not been very good over the years, so it's good to see them finally being good. You have Shohei Ohtani that we talked about, who's 26 years old and is dominating. You have Bichetti, for the Blue Jays, who's not even the best player on his own team, which is Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who I loved Vladdy when he was playing, and then now his kid is dominating and is just awesome and unbelievable and one of the best hitters in baseball. So that's something.
Tim Anderson too.
Yeah, you got Tim Anderson, who's a young talent, who's like kind of brought a swagger to the White Sox, who are a really up and coming team, and who I think have a good shot this year.
I thought Tim Anderson was older. That's funny. I just feel like I've heard his name for so long.
He's like 28, I think. So
he's been on the Sox, like playing for the Sox for like 3 or 4 years now. He's
okay.
Yeah,
relatively youngish.
A little younger. Then you have Acuna Jr., who's also amazing for a team that also hasn't been very good in a while, which is the Braves, which is awesome. You have Baez for the Cubs, who's been great. You just have a lot of these young, talented players. Mookie Betts is pictured on the screen for the Dodgers. It's just so many good young players that are hopefully going to bring a younger audience to the sport, because the sport's trying everything in its power to just rid its younger audience away. And that's why we keep having arguments about unwritten rules in baseball, which is the dumbest thing on the planet. Yeah,
the Yerminator.
God, yeah. It's just listening to Danny just say, "Oh my God," is exactly why everybody is frustrated with baseball and why I'm arguing and ranting about this. It's just so frustrating to watch because it's so ridiculous. And I honestly hope to God that Tatis Jr. and Guerrero and Ohtani and what they're all doing this year is able to bring some kind of excitement out of the younger crowd to baseball, because it is a sport that I love, and I love the ins and outs. I love all of the chess matches that go on, and people don't really realize how crazy of a chess match the game really is until you really know everything that's happening. And so I'm hope to God that they're saving the sport, but it's so freaking frustrating to listen to baseball every single year just try their very best to not have fans. So
yeah, and I talked about this, so I won't repeat too many of the points that I had, but I went to the White Sox game, obviously the hometown, like a little I think it was a couple of weeks ago or whatever, and obviously I had this podcast on my mind and thinking about what we're going to be talking about. And the number one thing that I noticed was the in-game experience when we're actually there was pretty much a perfect representation of what we're talking about they should bring to TV, but they haven't, which is they had, I mean, like, obviously there's things that don't come through on the TV broadcast. You got like the in-between, you have like the music and everything that people are playing when they're in commercial breaks, things like that. But the parts they did have that were always really cool, and I don't really see on TV too much, is like, okay, when you have different people coming up, they're playing the top moments of the White Sox history or whatever. They're replaying like Burley's perfect game. Yeah, showing that up there.
Wise,
yeah.
catch.
Yeah, the catch, they're showing all that. It's like really well edited, really well cut video and everything. It's super dramatic. They have it up on there. They're filling the time in between. They're like making it so that the boring parts where they're waiting for things to happen aren't really so boring. When you're on the TV and the medium that most people are accepting all of it, you're getting, ads. And I get that. That's part of it. Obviously, you're going to have that. But like, there's so much time in a TV broadcast for them to bring in things like that, or like how we always talk about like the sports science side of it, and more analytics on like what the players are actually doing. The significance of what you're actually seeing on screen is never illustrated, is never demonstrated the right way. And a lot of things I'm talking about and that we talked about before on the podcast were at the game. So they know this is happening. At least the stadium itself, like they know that what people want and they have some sort of idea for that. And it's just not making it to TV, whether that be the TV rights, whether that be the contracts or whatever. And there's just like, it just feels so rigid. It feels so bland because it feels like they're bringing out the same things all the time. And they're like afraid to take creative steps because of their audience being so entrenched and generally older. And they want the same thing. And, comfortability and familiarity is a big thing. But it was sad to see because eventually you're going to have to flip that switch and those people are going to start moving on and you need to actually hold your ground in a young audience. And that was the craziest part, is we talked about all these things and it's great and you could talk about all you want, but it was there and it was actually really fun. Needless to say, like the gambling side of it, I like bet on a game that was there as well. So that was kind of fun. And I ended up winning the bet. I think it was for 7 strikeouts when oh my gosh, the pitcher, his last name starts with a G.
Giolito.
Giolito, yes, he made that,
Lucas
and he
Giolito.
pitched one more inning than I thought he was going to. So yeah, that part's obviously going to make the game more fun and why it's pretty popular. But everything else, besides that, there's so much room for that, and they don't take advantage of it. But that goes back to our same points. They just already exist. It happened, so yeah.
Well, and people don't understand, like I said, the chess match and stuff that happens. Like at one point in the game that I was watching with my dad, the Cubs were playing, and Jason Hayward, the ball was hit to the outfield, and the guy rounded first and looked at Jason Hayward, and Jason Hayward had picked up the ball and was like, and the guy basically turned and didn't go to second. He could have. He definitely could have. He didn't go to second. Then what happened is, then the next play, somebody hits a single, the guy rounds second, goes to third. Then, then the inning ends up being where they get out of the inning with a man stranded on first and third. And then neither guy scored. The difference that people don't realize, which again, they could show in like sports science type stuff, or just things or little comments or stuff. The reason why that man did not score from third is because the Jason Hayward has an unbelievable arm and threw it and could throw it all the way from, wherever it doesn't matter. And the runner didn't want to test it. And that's why he didn't advance to second. If the runner had advanced to second, because the right fielder wasn't as dangerous as the thrower, he would have been home, and that would have been an extra run that would have been against the Cubs on that next single that was hit, because the guy ended up going to third. He would have ended up going home instead. So literally just simply because the guy knew that Jason Hayward was out there in right field and had an arm and wasn't going to test it is the reason why the Cubs got out of the inning without a run scored. That's the type of stuff that happens in baseball that people don't realize. Like, it's just, they don't highlight it. They don't talk about it. They don't really reference it when it happens. And it's things like that that would bring people in that would go, oh yeah, that's pretty crazy. Like, I didn't know Jason Hayward has that kind of arm. And it's like, yeah, he has such an arm that the guy didn't even want to test him because he knew that he was going to lose. Like, that's the type of stuff that you need to talk about and bring in a more hype to the game. So
Yeah.
Sorry, that was just another rant, little bit mini rant about this, because it's just frustrating, and it happens. And every like time that a topic pops up, I just go, wonder why this isn't getting talked about enough. And it's like, yeah, well, that's why.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about, is the simple fact, like, they could show a previous throw by Jason Hayward where he gunned a guy down from right field to second base, and then be like, yeah, this is why that guy's not testing him. And then you'd be like, wow, that's pretty cool. And then be like, yeah, thank God Jason Hayward is out there, because he saved the guy from running to second, and otherwise you would have scored on that hit. And you would have been like, wow, yeah, that's actually pretty crazy. That's insane that literally just his presence alone in the outfield is what stopped that run from scoring. And you're like, yeah, it's pretty great. That's what happens all the time. Like, it's just so stupid. It's just so dumb, and that's what they need to talk about. So
yeah,
that's again, if you want to hear my full rants, go watch our YouTube videos, because I rant nonstop for like 10 minutes straight about it. And at one point, I think we actually put out a video where I said I fixed baseball's advertising problems, and I 100% do. So go watch that if you're really interested too, because I fully go into why or how they could fix it in such an easy manner. And they don't, because they're baseball, and they need to get rid of their commissioner, because he's just bringing the sport down. So Manfred, for the love of God, if you somehow hear this, just retire. Just retire, quit, whatever you got to do. Step down. I don't care. Just leave. Go away.
I mean, they're doing the classic thing that a lot of different companies will do, where they're buying into short term and they want to bite into that, that audience they still take advantage of it. But they just gotta bite the bullet at some point and like really lean into, okay, we're gonna take some short-term losses here. You're gonna get boomers on Facebook and stuff like, man, I hate how they do that. They didn't used to be like that. You just gotta eat it. Just gotta eat it for right now. It's gotta happen. It's a transition. It's gonna be painful, and then move on to it. Baseball is a snooze fest to watch on TV. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah, that's the problem. And they need to have a you just, dude, get Mark Burley to figure out how the baseball should like time their things, because Mark Burley used to pitch games and they'd be like 2 hours.
Super quick.
Yeah, and like it was enjoyable because you were watching a great pitcher pitch a game quickly, and you're like, wow, I didn't know pitchers could pitch this quickly. And you're like, yeah, they could, they just don't. So make that happen.
They introduced that one rule a couple years ago, but it really hasn't cut down.
Yeah, where they would, and the amount of mound visits, because the Cubs pretty much were the reason why that happened, because they were, what's his name, Joe Madden would visit the mound all the time because he would switch batters after like one hit. The guy, like, he'd bring in a pitcher to pitch against one hitter because he was good against lefties or he was good against this situation, and then the hitter would he would strike him out, and then he'd change pitchers for the next hitter. Like, he was that kind of crazy about it. So they actually stopped the amount of mound visits that you can take to like go to talk to the pitcher. But they need to put a pitch count on. They need to stop this whole thing where pitchers spend, a full minute trying to figure out what they're going to throw. And then a batter has to call time. And then we all sit there and go, oh, here we go. We got to wait. So get rid of that. Bring some sports science into the game live when it's happening. So that way, in that downtime, because it's football literally happens for 8 seconds. And then there's like a minute in between each play. That minute that happens in between each play, there's highlights, there's references to players, there's stats thrown on the screens, there's all kinds of, there's sports science type stuff. Throw that stuff in there, put that on in between pitches and stuff. We don't need to sit there and stare at a guy, think about what he's going to throw for 2 minutes, and then decide, and then the batter go time, and then fix his gloves, and we all go, all right, well, this at bat's going to take 10 minutes because we can't get through it. Like, it's just, and then he throws over to first, and then you're like, all right, let's reset again. Like, it's just, for the love of God, just change it up. Do something different than just straight.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, actually. I don't remember the last time I saw that, that overhead view or whatever, like just basically drawing on the screen or whatever for baseball. Like if you're looking out in the outfield, like, oh, okay, like here, circling him here. Okay, like you can see he's in position, he's ready. They don't want to hit to his area. They don't want to be in his area. They know he has the arm. I don't remember the last time I've seen that. I see that in football literally every play.
Yeah, they will talk about why a quarterback is not throwing to that side of the field because of a certain corner. They highlight that. They don't talk about that in baseball. Like I said, I literally looked over at my dad and was like, yeah, Jason Hayward has an arm, and that's why they're not testing him right there. And he literally saved a run. And that's what we're talking about. That's the type of crap that people need to see. Like, it's just so frustrating. Yeah, do something. Change it up. Change the angles, for the love of God. Like I said, football literally happens in an 8-second period, and then there's a minute of downtime in between a play. How is it still that football is way more exciting than baseball, despite that happening?
I have the answer. The White Sox did it a couple years ago, and they just need to continuously do it. Just have Bill Walton announce the game for absolutely no reason. Bill Walton was definitely high as can be and was announcing the White Sox game for some reason, and it was entertaining, to say the least.
Dude, I gotta tell you, on that same vibe, so we all know who Harry Carey is in Chicago. We all have heard Harry Carey before. Have you ever heard an actual game called by Harry Carey, like a casual game?
No.
Oh my dude, I was watching this game with my dad because it was on late, and it was it was like one of those like classic games where Harry Carey was this dude. I'm 6th inning. It was probably the 6th inning. The guy was like, or Harry Carey literally was like, man, that guy's great hit. He's from like Mexico, and he's like, and then his partner's like, actually, he's from Spain. Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, it's just like way more. I'm like, dude, I want to have a drink. Old ass
dude, just like yelling some things out.
He was like inning 8. He was like plastered. This dude's hammered back there trying to announce.
Just makes me think of the SpongeBob thing again. It's like, I saw you on TV last night. Bye, bran flakes.
Honestly, it was great. I was like, man, I see why Harry Carey's a legend, because this man is literally hammered, and it's like the 8th inning, and like It's like
just spewing nonsense.
It's just so great. He would just say stuff. He'd be like, "Sammy, holy cow!" And you're like, "This man is he's just so entertained and he's so drunk. It's so great." And like, it's just, oh man. And then at like one point, the camera flashes to like a pretty good looking chick in the audience, and he's just like, "You had a great fan out in the audience there. Wow." And you're just like, Harry is 100% pointing out that chick in the crowd. Oh my God. It was so great. I was like, man, I could see why Harry Carey was a legend, because this dude makes me want to drink with him watching the game. Like, oh, man, it's just baseball, fix your crap. I don't know what to tell you, man. Just, literally get me in the freaking front office. I can literally fix baseball's advertising in such a quick, like, 15-minute pitch. But it's never going to happen because baseball's stupid and dumb. And, here we are.
I got it. Give everyone a bat, remove the bases, and just tell them to swing.
Put blindfolds on them.
Yeah. Just go for it. Just go at it.
Oh God.
Human pinatas.
I'm bored.
Oh man. Well,
can we
you certainly would get more viewership.
Actually, Dylan, I want you to we'll just finish up with our last topic. I was just talking about the NCAA or whatever. I think that's
College World Series.
Oh yeah, looks like I got my default NCAA picture. We'll go ahead with that.
Do we want to roll with that for like a third NCAA segment in a week?
Let's see. There might be something better, but you could.
So you can actually flash the. Do you have the Cubs one ready?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, flash that on the screen real quick. I'll talk about that. What did he say? What about the NBA Finals? What's going on there? Oh yeah, sorry. So earlier we covered the NBA Finals. Dylan, you find the picture while I talked about the NBA Finals real quick with this guy. So earlier we talked about the NBA Finals. I think it's the Suns in 6. It doesn't matter who they're playing. I think the Bucks are going to make
Suns
it.
in 4.
The Suns in 4. I think the Bucks will at least get 1 or 2. I think the Bucks are going to win there because I think Chris Middleton, like if you take Giannis and you take Trae Young out of the series, I think Chris Middleton's the best player in that series. So I think ultimately at the end of the day, the Bucks are going to figure out how to win it. And I think Chris Middleton's going to be the reason why. And then I would say basically that the Bucks are going to the finals, but I think they'd put up a fight. So I think at least maybe the Suns in 5 at the best, but I think the Suns in 6 is more realistic because I think the Bucks figure out a way. The only issues I was saying is that I was wondering if they're going to make Giannis available for the finals or even available for a game 7 if this series does go that route, because I think it very well could. Because I think I could see the Hawks pulling one of the next 2 out of their, behinds and somehow it going to a game 7. And if it did, I wonder if the team would make Giannis available. It's just that they said that there's no timetable on his return. So I'm really not sure what that means. And the scary injury that happened tells me otherwise, that basically he's not going to be playing. But again, it's one of those where if you're in a lose it, or you win it or go home situation, do they make him available for the game where he's on the bench ready to go and they can put him in when they need him? Otherwise, like I said, I think the Bucks ultimately at the end of the day are going to lose the series of the Suns. I think the Suns are inevitably going to win it all. And I actually said in earlier videos too that the Suns felt magical. So that's what I'll say is I think the Suns in 5 at the best. Suns in 6 is probably more realistic just because I think the Bucks will get 1 or 2 out of the series. Especially if Chris Middleton goes off in one of those games. So that's my gist there.
Yeah.
All right. Next topic. We'll finish up with the NCAA and a little bit of the Olympics talk as well, because I want to cover that slightly because there was something that is just annoying that I want to talk about that's just covers sports in general. So the NCAA, and I'm going to read this tweet as it was written. I think it was ESPN that tweeted it. I can't remember. Who cares? The tweet basically said every NCAA. So the NCAA had has been, for anybody out there that doesn't know, the NCAA has been under fire lately, and the Supreme Court handed down a massive thing against them. We actually just posted the clip about that. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that, and you can follow that clip there. Essentially, the NCAA has been getting hammered basically by everybody involved, as they should, for the amount of unpaying that they do for their athletes that they make billions of dollars off of. And today, the NCAA came out with every NCAA athlete in the country will be able to make money from endorsements and through a variety of other ventures starting this Thursday and on. So what that means is that every single athlete across all NCAA sports are able to basically make money off of endorsements as well as their image and likeness. If I remember, I believe that's a part of it.
Right.
So what that means is that essentially, and certain colleges have actually been having programs in the background the last couple of years. They don't really talk about them, but certain programs have had things where they will set you up with an agent or educate you on agents and everything, so that way you're more prepared, which is great and I think is awesome for young athletes. So that's something that's interesting too. But basically, what it means for athletes is that they can finally start potentially making money off their name. So last week I talked a little bit about an example, for instance, that Chris Sims highlighted, where basically, a guy goes to a summer league game and all these people pay to go to the game and then also pay for autographs afterwards. The athletes don't see none of that, regardless of the fact that they're there for 10 hours straight signing autographs or whatever it is. And so, but then if a guy tries to go get an autograph signing where he makes some money, outside of there, like the mall, for instance, he's going to get in trouble for that and probably suspended. So the NCAA is finally relaxing some of their rules, as they should, because again, I get it. They're in college and they're getting a full ride, and that should be the payment alone. Enough of that conversation. We need to stop that. These teams, some of these colleges, their football teams are worth more than NFL franchises. Yeah. So let's calm down about that and all realize
Alabama, man.
Yeah, let's all realize that these athletes deserve at least some type of, whether. And the problem is that the NCAA restricted a lot of things, such as like internships, things that the college could give them could be a violation. We finally saw the Supreme Court rule in their favor of the athletes. So now athletes can actually get like things like laptops or, things that might actually help them in their education, because 99% of the athletes in college, sports are not going to play professionally. That's just the way it goes. 99% of them are going to play their full 4 years and then they're going to graduate with their degree. That is what they're going to move forward with in life. Let's actually give them things that are going to make them more successful in life, that also kind of act as a little bit of compensation for the amount of money that they generate for the university. Allowing them to receive, opportunities to internships, which is being allowed by the Supreme Court now. Opportunities such as getting a laptop from the school, things like that. A lot of these athletes come to the school from poor communities. They don't have the money to pay for college. They got there on their athletic ability. Sometimes that's how you get out of those communities, is by your athletic ability. They got out of there by that means. They don't have the money to pay for a $1,200 laptop that's going to last them 4 years. That's going to be good enough to supply, help them with all of their homework and everything. And the way that technology is going, they need something like that. You desperately do. So they need something like that, and now they can get it finally from the university, which is huge, because that's very minimal compensation for a guy. At one point, I think I saw that every person on the Alabama football team is valued at around $500,000, because that's how much money they generate for the community, for the school. That's the type of stuff where I'm not saying they need to be paid $500,000. But maybe give the guy a freaking laptop, for the love of God. Maybe give him an ability to get an internship, or, get something where he's, not living, yes, athletes do get some, perks. Obviously, we all know that. But the point is some of those athletes deserve more than what they're getting at the moment, because of how much they're generating for an organization that has been unwilling to meet, any type of middle ground for them. So I'm honestly all for the NCAA finally getting exposed a little bit with all that practice. And, Judge Kavanaugh, one of the Supreme Court judges that ruled in favor, obviously all 9 judges ruled in favor of the athletes in this situation against the NCAA, basically laid it out and said that this is not a business model that would be legal literally everywhere else, except for it happens to be legal because you consider them amateurs because they're college athletes and their scholarship is good enough. It's like, the amount of money that they're generating for you, it's that's not the case. That should not be the way it is. And so I'm totally okay with it. And that's how I feel. And I feel like that's probably how you feel as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll even admit I was on the other side of this argument like a few years ago before I started to learn the ins and outs of it. That came from a place of, yeah, I mean, it came from a place of like jealousy of, you know, seeing like, oh, okay, you get a full ride, you know, all you have to do is play ball, all that stuff. And like, yeah, surface level, that seems like it's correct and you want to run with that. But then hearing about all these things, the laptop thing you told me, I still didn't believe that was real. That seemed like it was such a minimal one-time cost. I was like, no way. Like they'd be talking about different things like lodging, food. I mean, something about a laptop. Like, come on.
Something as simple as that.
Yeah. So, I mean, in light of all those, all those facts and all the stats behind it and everything, and like how, you know, they even have the commercials that are, you know, saying that the athletes don't go on to be in pro sports. They go on to being doctors, or they go on to being like, you know, business, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, all that's completely reversed my opinion of that. And I firmly believe the NCAA was, you know, putting out that story, putting out that viewpoint and everything, and they're holding on to that for dear life as long as they can, because they know they're getting an absolute killing. They're practically running a business, you know, for free and not paying any income or like anything to any of the employees or the contractors, whatever you want to view them as. So they had a great thing going, and they had a great thing going for a really long time, and they're literally going to hold that on until it's pried from their, you know, their hands, until they're forced by the Supreme Court or whatever else. I think this is the first of many things that might change now. I don't know exactly what the next step is, but I feel like they're slowly just going to lose that status of like, oh yeah, they're just athletes. You know, they already paid for their scholarships, so of course we can make all the money off of them. Yeah, I just think it's the first of many things.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I hope that this trend continues, and it's something that needed to happen, and so I'm glad that it's finally happening.
Yeah.
So.
All right, and last topic on the Olympics, you said?
Yeah, so this is just something I wanted to mention, and we're not showing the actual photo of the incident because I didn't really tell you, but I feel like it's been shown enough that we don't need to talk about it. Essentially, there was an athlete who is, I forget what event she participated in, but she's a black athlete in America, and decided to use her platform to basically, she's, instead of facing the national anthem when it was when it was performed, she faced away, and it was a part of the whole BLM movement and everything. In her statement, of course, is going to be, watered down and not actually, it's gonna be hard to find her actual statement, and I actually don't even know what her actual statement was on the incident because of how hidden and hard it's going to be to find it. The one thing I thought was ridiculous is that people just used this as like a continuing of that argument of well, we need to keep politics and everything else out of sports. And you're an athlete, you're there to represent the United States, you shouldn't do this. And it's like, I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. Like, it does not affect me. It's like, if I didn't like it, you know what I would do? Bloop, hit the power button, and then guess what? I don't watch it. I don't see it. So If you don't like it, don't watch. Don't do it. Don't, you don't need to talk about it. You don't need to tell us about how, the two people that face the national anthem are, really supporting the country. And, like, this athlete that decided to look away is disrespecting the country and everybody that fought for her and everybody that died for her. And I'm like, I don't really think that that's what she's going for. Like, I don't think that when she did that, she was like, screw all those people. You know what? Screw your brother that died for this country. No, I don't. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's ever been doing that. Go back to like this whole thing started with Kaepernick, and there was stuff before that too. There was athletes that have done plenty before that that don't get represented. I can't come to mind. There was a black athlete that something was happening, and the other two athletes, I don't know if he held up his fist or the other two athletes did it as well. It was an iconic moment in the United States in history, and I can't remember exactly how it went down, but it was very respectful by the other two athletes that were on the podium with them. But anyways, this type of stuff happens all the time. For the love of God, just stop. Just if you have an issue with it, don't watch. I don't know what to tell you. Like, the fact that we're arguing about this athlete saying something, and athletes, for the love of God, can use their freaking platform to talk about whatever the heck they want. I don't care. I really don't. Because you know what? I'll watch them on the field. And then when I watch them on the field, in the press conference afterwards, if they say something about the political sphere that we're in or the current state of our country, I could care less. If they want to say anything, whatever it is, whatever side they're trying to argue, it does not bother me that they say that. They are a human being in the United States of America and a citizen and can say whatever the heck they want. They have a platform where they can reach thousands of people. They can use that platform to further any causes that they feel is necessary. You know, It doesn't make any difference to me. If I didn't want to hear their opinion, I would just turn it off. I don't have to listen. It's a fantastic thing. There's an incredible thing called the power button. It's incredible. It's amazing. They invented it with electronics. It's on every single device, and it's on everything that you'd ever use to consume any of this content. For the love of God, use it if you have a problem. So stupid. It's so stupid. If you have a problem, don't watch the frickin' event she's in. Who cares? I just don't get it. I don't know why it's because people need something to argue about and complain about and be upset about, because that's just how the country is and that's just how people are. They just have to be so riled up about something, like just, oh, unbelievable. She would do that for all the people that died for this country. I'm like, I don't think she was thinking about that at all. I don't think that was a part of it. I don't think she was going, you know what? Screw all those people that died for this country. I'm going to not listen to the national anthem.
Yeah.
Like, does anybody think that was the case? No, nobody thought that was, like, nobody that actually looks at the situation and what she's doing thinks like, oh, she obviously hates all the people that have fallen for this country and all the soldiers. Obviously. She hates the firefighters too. Everybody. Like, no, that's not the way that it is. She is advocating for some type of thing, whether it be, BLM and Black Lives Matter and everything that's happening in the country currently and the current state of everything and the social, dilemma that's happening and everything, and the racial stuff that, by the way, still a part of this country. I don't know why people still act like it's not, people are like, oh, race isn't an issue. And it's like, yeah, really? Because it is. Because I heard a story that the, talk about the College World Series. Congratulations to Mississippi State, by the way, among this rant. Is Vanderbilt, parents of the Vanderbilt team had actually, there was the coaches had heard people yelling racial slurs at the Vanderbilt coach or parents. And it's like, that's why, that right there, that's why we're still talking about this. That type of incident. That still happens. People get angry. People get riled up, and then they start immediately yelling racial slurs and stuff like that. And yes, there's a good amount of people that don't, and there's a good amount of people that are good, that actually genuinely see people for people, which, is great. But there's also people out there that still suck. They still are terrible human beings that for some God knows reason just are like, I'm going to yell a very offensive racial slur at this person because I'm angry, and that makes me feel slightly better. And it's like, you're a terrible human being. That's all I got to say about that. So
I thought we beat racism when Obama was elected.
Exactly. We 100% did, and then I just stop this whole dumb conversation about how athletes can't use their platforms or how you should separate politics from sports. It's like, no, when Patrick Mahomes is running a play in the game, guess what? He's not yelling BLM while he's throwing the pass to Tyreek Hill down the line. No, he's running the play. He's producing what you're enjoying and watching. So when the game's over and he decides to use his platform, or when the national anthem's happening, which, by the way, how many people are tuning in for the national anthem in a normal game? Not very many people. So the fact that he decides to kneel or say something or use his platform for anything else, don't tune in, for the love of God, if you have a problem. I don't know what to tell you.
No, going off of the point that you said, and it gets brought up a lot, is like how immediately people always jump to, hey, like, you hate this country or whatever because, you're turning back on the flag, you kneeled, whatever it might be. I don't think anyone ever believes it was the case. That's a really like insight. It's like a really just easy thing to just jump to. It's always been the fact that you I mean, obviously, if you're still, you're an Olympic athlete, whatever else you might be, you just want the country to be something greater. You don't want it to be in its current state. There are issues. Pretending that there's not is just a really easy, childish thing to just jump to. And it's never been the case where it's like, I hate all the people that contribute to this country. It's been, I want to call attention to this issue because I think this could be something greater. And it should be something greater, and we deserve to be. So when you immediately jump to that conclusion and there's all this hatred behind it and you hate the country, everything else like that, it's just easy. It's a simplistic, childish worldview that's just really fun to jump to and gets it off your back so you don't have to think anything else about it. You don't have to look into the issue. So I think that's why people usually default to that a lot. And that usually becomes like the headline everywhere. I think it's less so prevalent now because there are so many examples of like actual causes and good reasons to do it, and people understand it a little bit more now. But all the people who were complaining about it beforehand never watched the national anthem. They never watched the post-game practices. They don't care. They were seeing the tweets. They were seeing the shorthand things that were thrown up in their face. It's never been the case where they're like, oh, I'm just going to tune in after the game. Because that'd be too logical. It's basically what's just like, oh, I saw this head point and someone's telling him to be angry about it. Okay, now I'm angry about it and now I'm incensed and I hate this guy. So I feel like that comes up a lot. It's funny because it never came to attention. Nobody cared about watching the sidelines for the national anthem. It's a bunch of fake patriotism that doesn't even really correlate with anything else. So yeah,
no, it's just and the Colin Kaepernick thing just annoys me so bad because people, for the love of God, everybody, he was blackballed from the NFL. I don't know what to tell you. He was blackballed. He was better than majority, if not all, of the backups that were on any NFL roster. Do you think Chase Daniel's a better backup quarterback than Colin Kaepernick?
Small
You're
hands.
An idiot. You don't know football and you're an idiot. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Do you think Tyler Bray should be on the freaking Chicago Bears roster over in Colin Kaepernick? No, you're an idiot. I don't know what to tell you. So the fact that Colin Kaepernick was not in the NFL after that incident was a straight blackballing by the NFL, which is, it's an organization, it's a company, it can do what it's want. But regardless, the point still stands. He was blackballed from the thing because of his kneeling, which was something that does not affect his play and does not affect the game itself when it's actually played on the field, because none of those players are kneeling mid freaking blitz on a play. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Tyreek Hill's not kneeling and not catching the 70-yard pass from Patrick Mahomes, and instead he's kneeling and going, well, I'm standing up for BLM. And it's like, no, he's catching the freaking ball and you're watching the production on the field. I don't know what to tell you. Like, stop being so butthurt. Like, it's just every single person. Like, and then the sad part is we get talked about all the time about how, like, this generation is so sensitive and it's like, no, I'm sorry. Like, it's just, I'm sorry, but maybe people are just tired of hearing like, normal like comments that are not okay. Like, you read things all the time. Like, I was reading one thing where like the girl was like, I just ask people like what they mean, and when they actually realize what they say, it gets real awkward. Like, she said one time that some random guy at her work literally just said to her, your voice would be great for phones, like for phone sex operator. And she was like, what do you mean? Like, that's a comment that's just like oh, people are so sensitive nowadays, they can't even take a comment. And it's like, no, that's just kind of creepy and weird. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I just, like, dude, you have no game. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't know what inferiority complex you have at home, but you do. And that's why you're making this weird comment to a coworker. So like, it's just, maybe we're done just dealing with that type of crap. So it's just stupid, and this whole thing is just dumb. And the Olympic, them her facing away. Like, I'm sorry, did she come through the screen and actually stab your brother who's a Marine? No? Weird. Oh, I thought she did. The way that you got so angry seemed like there was some physical or actual emotional harm compared to anything that people in this country have to deal with on a daily basis, as far as being literally just black. That causes them to have to deal with that kind of stuff on a daily basis, and that's not a thing that is just brush it off or just, well, it's really not that big of an issue. It still is. It's still an issue. It's why we're dealing with it. So for the love of God, that's why this whole Vanderbilt thing that gets brushed under the rug, where literally people were yelling racial slurs at players' parents. That's the type of stuff that, still happens on a daily basis, and people wonder why there's still problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
So long rant that I just went on, but a rant that needs to happen, and people need to actually, that are in media and stuff, need to actually, express, because they just try to roll with what's the least controversial thing they can say in order to keep their audience. And, that works great for them, and they make millions of dollars off of that. But I'm just not going to just, ignore the annoying comments that I had to read constantly after this incident, where I just, I looked at it and went like, oh, okay. And then I moved on with my life and didn't have my entire week ruined because some athlete on a podium, I don't even know what, she was running, but decided to not, turn her head towards the national anthem and put her hand on her chest. Okay. Yeah. There goes my whole week. That's it. All the plans I had a great weekend playing with the parents. Not gonna happen this weekend. So pissed off about this woman.
Yeah.
So stupid. Just, find a hobby, for the love of God.
Quit patronizing them.
Yeah.
Oh God.
It's really weird how nobody ever pointed out how strange it was that we had to pledge allegiance to the flag every day for the, every year we were in school.
It was kind of weird.
Just that's fine.
It's very odd. It's, God, Dylan, that's it. Now you're gone. You're blackballed from all media. You're just unpatriotic.
Yeah.
You don't want to stand for, you don't want to, you think it's weird, the national anthem? We had to stand and say, we all had to say something to pledge our allegiance to a freaking flag.
Yeah. Yep. People are weird about that stuff. I don't know.
Dude, one of my favorite comedians, and he says some controversial stuff, of course, but one of my favorite comedians is Bill Burr, and he was talking about the Colin Kaepernick thing, and he was like, dude, nobody's saying your brother didn't die in Iraq, but he freaking died in Iraq. And it's nobody's saying that. Calm down. Literally nobody's referencing anything, any of the people that have fought for this country, for you to stand up and say that and disrespect the flag. It's, nobody cares, dude. Sorry, you're getting all worked up for nothing. And when your generation finally ends up gone from this country, we'll all breathe a sigh of relief, because we now don't have to listen to, some 60-year-old dude who doesn't have a hobby and, is upset that he's not in a world where he can beat his wife with a broomstick anymore. Listen, 50 years ago, that was okay. And that's the generation, that's what we're talking about. So I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah. No, it's, I can't wait for that to die out. People who make the patriotism they feel for their country their entire personality are really sad. Wish there was more.
I don't know if this guy's still listening, but just to answer his question, because we're done with this rant now, because I'm just so annoyed and I could go on for hours. I'm, massive fan of the Chicago Bulls. Just, we haven't been good since freaking Jordan. So
sad.
Sad.
Yeah.
God.
I would be the Bears, of course, but that's where I'm at.
Well, he's talking basketball at the time. So.
Oh, I thought he meant overall anything. Okay.
Oh, favorite? I don't know. What would be my favorite sports team? Probably the Bears, because they're the team that I'm just so. They pull my emotions in so many different directions every year.
Yeah. Yeah, probably have to settle there. But
well, that's it for us this week.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I got an early appointment myself, so I definitely have got a lot to go off of there. That was 2.5 hours. So.
Yeah. Danny, thanks for joining us. I know that you got to just listen to my rants for so long there. That was, is he still there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, there he is. Okay. I was just having is he gone?
Asleep at the desk.
Oh, God. Yeah, there's my rants for you. Catch all that stuff on YouTube again, where I'll post it. And
Yeah. You're still watching at this point. Otherwise, again, we're YouTube clips. Those will be posted. Otherwise, we're also now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. So go ahead and if you want to bring it on the road or watch it mobile, it's there. Easy to access. So that's going to be it.
Yeah, of course, this week covered a bunch of different topics, and thanks, Danny, for bringing the expertise as well as some, funny comments here and there to lighten the rants up a little bit, because we got a little rant heavy in that second half for sure. Speaking specifically of me, so that's all we're gonna say there. So thanks, Danny, for joining us this week and hanging around the whole time while I just got very angry for a while.
Yes, I accomplished getting Grand Champ and 10 wins in Rocket League.
There we go.
So good.
That's the good news we need to end on with this podcast after what we just finished our last topic with. So, yeah. So thanks everybody for joining us. And next week we'll have more fun topics, and catch me on the next angry rant that I give. Oh God. All right. We got to go to bed.
And then just for the end of the editing, you just do a little pop or something there, something that sticks out. Look at that for later. All right. Good night, everyone.